Okay.
You know what I can't stand is when Tom touches my stuff, man.
Well, I told you to quit touching my balls.
Well, no,
I don't know why you do shit like that, man.
I do know about that.
You get your greasy fucking. It's like he doesn't. He touches my stuff after he eats McDonald's.
I like turtles.
I like turtles.
Am
I not turtly enough for you, turtle?
Oh my God, we're live.
Really?
We're not up on the screen yet.
I don't see what's going on.
Oh,
we are live. What the fuck?
Whoa.
Well, where's the intro for Saturday? I don't even see it. Oh, there it is. Yeah, fuck it, we're started. Who cares about being professional?
I love the attitude.
Screw it. It's Tom and Gerry.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
I like to get someone that just can't sing at all and have them do a theme song like Tom and Gerry time, Tom and Gerry time, or Tom and Gerry time. That's getting popular.
In your Italian voice.
Don was thinking he started calling me Gerry, but it's actually Clobby or Clobbery, as I call him. Because it sounds like you're saying slobbery, clobbery.
Yeah.
And I started calling him Clobbery because Nick, what was it? It was Toxic Tuesday, and he accidentally called him Clobbery. And I said, I'm keeping that name. I like that name, Clobbery. So, happy Saturday, everybody. And that's the end of the show. Thanks for being here, everyone. We just started. Hey, who's all here?
Robocop, everybody.
Hey, Christian DeLorme was here. Stop by. Hello, friends. Good Veterans Day in the States. Yes, it is. Happy Veterans Day. I posted a neat little meme today. Well, I hate calling these things memes because they're not technically memes, but it's like it's become a generic term now than what the actual word meme was supposed to mean. So, but I posted this today for all my fellow vets because it's like American grunts. Be advised, I'm mean, nasty, and tired. I eat concertina wire and piss napalm. I can put a round through a flea's ass at 200 meters. So why don't you hump someone else's leg, mutt face, before I push yours in? One of the greatest lines ever delivered by Clint Eastwood in a movie, right there. Happy Veterans Day.
That made me laugh out loud on the fucking train on the way home. I opened Facebook and this jumps right at me. And I couldn't help it. People are looking at me. So thanks for that, jerk. And it's very good.
Now imagine if Clint Eastwood would actually open his eyes.
Yeah, he squints.
What about Arlie Emery in Full Metal Jacket?
Oh, hell yeah. Everything.
What's your major malfunction?
I love that one.
Choke yourself. Don't grab my hand.
Oh, that scene.
He's got to put his throat into his hand.
This is my rifle. This is my gun.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that actually is still being used in the military I was in. And I fucked with some soldier by doing an impression of my drill sergeant during night fire training. And so we're out there, tracers are going, and we're back behind the firing line. And this guy is like just acting like a fucking idiot as he's walking through. And I just yell at him like our drill sergeant. I do his voice. And I drop him, made him do push-ups, and then I made him run around back and forth behind the firing line with his weapon. One hand up in the air and the other one holding his crotch, doing the, this is my weapon, this is my gun, this is for killing, this is for fun.
Funny enough, I heard that line for the first time in one of the Chucky's movie.
It was the military
Child's
school.
Play 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, the third one.
And we have a super
That was the last
chat.
one I watched. I didn't want to watch any of the other ones. We have Christian DeLorme's. I like you. You put Vinyl Revival. Yes, there is big revival. Canadian 1111. A great Veterans Day to my Yanks and a great remember. The way you phrase it almost sounds like the way you yank it. A great Remembrance Day in Canada. Shout out to all my ultimate civil servants willing to give the ultimate sacrifice. Amen to that, brother. Amen to that. Thank you very much, Christian. I'm complaining about this. I'm openly complaining about it. That something weird is going on at Google YouTube, whereas we're up in the hundreds of dollars. All of a sudden, the last 2 months, under $50.
Yeah,
so we can't even pay for our StreamYard right now. Every time we log into StreamYard, we got the big red banner that says, "Hey, update your credit card, okay?"
You should just say we're broadcasting from Israel, then we'll get money.
Just alone from the membership, that makes no sense. And we get people, gifts from people all the time. So I'm like, how is it $44 this month? There's some shenanigans going on at YouTube. That's why I keep saying we're going to transition over to Rumble eventually and get the F off of here, because this is just a horrible platform. I don't know what Tom thinks of that. That's my opinion. You got an opinion on that, Tom?
I like it. It's so much better than cats.
The
Overlord will always...
on YouTube.
That is not a particularly high bar.
Yeah.
No.
I will not upset the overlords.
I will not upset the overlords. Okay. Christian Delorme, hello, my friends. Let's see. Who else? Admiral Teague is here. What is up, buddy?
Oh, yeah.
I thought he was joining us. Aren't you joining us, Teague? Send him an invite.
I don't.
Yeah, come on, Admiral.
Because I thought he was joining us today. Because he was going to make it a point to watch the movie today.
Chris might be joining us. He posted it in the host group.
Yes.
Andy Morrow is here. Greetings, Andy. Read by Nature. Lady V, of course. Gerry. Let's see. Making sure I don't want to
stay out of trouble.
Yeah. Enjoy this show, or there will be trouble.
Gerry, can you please send the invite to Admiral? I can not find him.
Okay.
And I think we're not following each other.
You talk then while I go do that.
AF Watcher, thanks for the super chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Playing Rogue City while watching RoboDoc and Robocop. Wow. And I have X of RoboCop comics.
X number of RoboCop comics.
And you don't get an Oreo. That is a funny story, man, about that Oreos in RoboCop. Watch RoboDoc. It could be a meme. Yes. AF, and with you with the game, that is
RoboCop,
an awesome game.
Oh, that's part of the story. And
yeah.
Weller's like, I don't know. I love you, man. I love you, but there's something wrong with you.
I don't believe Peter. I think he's embarrassed.
Yeah, I would not doubt that happened, because other people have said he was really weird about being called Robo.
Yeah, I can see him completely shouting from the balcony, "Robo, what's an Oreo?" I can't see him.
Robo don't get an Oreo.
AF Watcher 88 with $5 super chat. Playing Rogue City while watching RoboDoc and RoboCop. And I have X hashtag of RoboCop comics. I actually really did enjoy those back in the 90s. You don't get an Oreo. Watch RoboDoc. Yeah, that is good. I like that. So I heard somebody join us. Is Teague here? Yeah, there he is. There he is. Okay.
Hey, how are you feeling, buddy? I hope your foot's all right and everything's good. We've been talking a little.
It's doing a lot better. I learned a lesson. I need to wear my padded socks when I'm wearing my new shoes, my fitted shoes. Because I woke today, was doing a bunch of stuff, got home, kicked them off. My dogs were hurting. And I looked at the top of my left foot and it was like bright red. And I'm like, God damn. It really bugged me. When I woke up the next morning, I saw that it had been bleeding. And I'm like, oh, shit. Ooh. I put a nice little hole in the top of my foot. But it started closing up and healing. Because I'm keeping my blood sugar down, my foot's healing. So that's the big thing, is keeping the glucose.
That's the only thing that matters, you know. And it's really a pleasure to join everyone. I've met all of you in different times and places, including.
Have you hung out with Tom before, right?
Jedi Bills count?
No, Tom.
Yeah, just hanging out with him at Jedi Bill's.
Oh,
I think
you
we
hung
sang
out with him
karaoke.
at Jedi Bill. Oh, gotcha.
I mean, for what it counts. But no, I'm a Midnight's Edge subscriber for about a year now.
I'm a Midnight Cowboy. That's what I thought you were going to say is when you said midnight, and then I see what you're talking about.
Yeah. I'm a fan. We've talked a little. Hello.
It's hard not to be.
Hello.
Hey, by the way, Tom, did you give Andre my message?
Not the whole thing. I'm not telling him all that stuff.
I'm talking about when I said go say hi to my illegitimate father.
Yeah. He's busy today.
Andre's like, why didn't I wear a condom that day?
Yep,
that's what he said.
And of course, Doomcock thought that was funny. I told him.
I should have won a condom.
Before we get into it, crazy week. Glad to hear that. It's not ratified yet, but they've agreed. The unions have agreed with the studio system. But really, we're in for some huge changes because studios aren't going to make movies anymore. They're really going to stop. It's just not cost effective for them. They're going to do distribution. And indie is pretty much as we predicted 4 years ago. And by the way, Keith and I have been doing this for technically 5 years now. He sent me a little happy anniversary thing the other day. And I was like, I guess it is. And coming up here in about 2 months, it'll be our 5th anniversary.
Nice.
Yeah. And what's funny is, and I say funny, I mean, not ha-ha funny, but weird. Some of the guys that we're friends with that we've been doing shows with were way behind us in numbers, and ours have just not grown, and which is literally impossible unless somebody's fucking with you. And Google, YouTube is fucking with us. And I'm okay with that. I'm going to find ways of working around them. Polly gave me some good advice yesterday, Tom, and I'm going to give it a try.
Quit?
Yeah. Did you talk to him? No, he said, start getting back to doing shorts, and now YouTube has made it to where you can actually, on your mobile phone, while doing the show, you can start creating shorts during the show. I can't do it because my brain's focused too much on the show, but somebody like John down there in the corner absolutely can do it. Yep. And Martin won't do it. Martin says, I'm confused by this. Your world, what is it, caveman lawyer would say, frightens and confuses me.
I already know the first clip I'm pulling, too.
Christian DeLorme's Vinyls, another $10. He's either drinking PBR right now and throwing money at us like we're strippers, or something is going on. And a shout out to you, Gary. Being an a-hole attracts great people. You're way too hot, girlfriend. Mr. Tom, my favorite Mexican, of course, John. And I don't. Where the fuck are you going with this, Christian?
I am not Mexican.
Gary, you are the opposite of a stripper. People pay you to put your clothes back on.
Well, yes, it is. But I'm a negative stripper. But again, Christian, even though you're probably drinking right now, punctuation is important. It is important. But anyway, reverse stripper. Yeah.
So if you're negative,
but again,
stripper,
thank you, Christian, for the
we owe him 2 videos.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, go ahead. Part of what you do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. First one.
All right.
You keep saying that, and I won't pay anything.
Do your job, you goddamn lazy Mexican.
I am not Mexican.
Can you fly, Bobby?
That is one.
Right, Bobby.
Tigers are playing tonight. They never miss a game.
He is probably, in my opinion, one of the greatest cinematic villains.
Oh, well, what's really awesome is he grew up very near where I'm from. Actually, 30 miles away.
Oh, really?
Kurtwin did, yeah.
Okay, and here's the second video for you, Christian.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.
I'll buy that for $1.
Bend over and spread your cheeks. Prepare for a body cavity search.
Yeah, I prefer not.
I will contact the closest rape crisis center.
Hey, Chris.
What's up,
Good
Chris?
afternoon, gentlemen.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you too. What was that last line you just said, Gerry?
I will contact the closest rape crisis center.
Oh, I tell my wife that every time.
And get those guns going there. Look at you working out.
Oh my God.
And we're canceled.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like Paul Lynde in the center square all of a sudden?
You're not gay
No,
enough.
no, it's not Paul Lynde. This is like there should be the Brazers logo on the bottom right side of the screen.
That's fantastic news, Real Wade. That's really good. Congratulations, buddy.
And
back
Hi, Wade. Good to see
this
you.
is all yours, man. You chose it. You choose it.
This is the laziest breach ever. Come on.
Open your back door, baby. Loosen your hinges, I'll show you my key.
There's
That's
a
what
movie we're talking about, right?
Tom would be if he was like an elf.
Was that Jack Black?
It sounds like him, but no, it's not. It's the dude from Legends
Sam
of Vox Machina.
Oh,
Sam Riegel.
That sounds like Jack Black.
He
I was waiting for it to
sings
be
a lot
like
like
like a Tenacious D song.
Yeah,
I got the key to your back door, baby.
Well, it could be a Tenacious D song, absolutely.
Well, remember the song that they did that John Cask for whatever his
Gonna
name
lather you up with my lube of love.
Cascafalusa animated Fuck Her Gently.
Yeah.
Oh. Really?
That's what-
Always have to fuck her hard. In fact, sometimes that's not right to do.
Fucking love that.
We have the
Sometimes you got
GIF
to
in the
make some
crowd.
love and fucking give us some smooches too. Oh, I know that whole song.
Well, of course, the chief is here because this is a show about policemen.
Oh, look who! And we will have guests on the show. Actor Kevin Mayer Howard, who
I know who
appeared
that
in
is.
Sudden Impact and Full Metal Jacket. Nice.
Very nice. So I was going to mention to you, Gerry, because of this is a Paul Verhoeven movie. Now that the strikes are over, I was going to talk to my friend Alec, who did the practical effects work on Starship Troopers. We tried to get him on the show once. He ended up arriving just after we ended the show. But if you're going to stay on this Paul Verhoeven train, might be something to consider.
All right, yeah, man. I think it's a good idea.
I'd
know
buy
that I've
that
talked
for
to-
$1.
Yeah, buy that for $1.
Well,
I
since
just
the
talked to
strike
Pete
ceased,
that we're
we'll do
going
anything
to really
for $1.
push. Well, we're going to push for doing more interviews because I like that. It's one of my favorite things to do is have a guest on. Paulie was so much fun yesterday promoting his book. We pushed his book. I thought we would get over. And here's the thing that pissed me off. I've got $1.34 in my bank account, Tom, and he was at $29.99 last night before I went to bed. So I'm like, I've got $1.35. I'm going to give that to Paulie. And it wouldn't let me do it.
You really couldn't buy that for $1.
I couldn't buy it for $1.
I can't buy that for $1.
It would
Yeah,
not let me give him my last $1.35. That pissed me off because it would
Modern
push him over
inflation.
3,000.
Modern
To my
inflation has outpaced RoboCop's Detroit.
To my monetized friends, I'll just say the last couple of times I've tried to super chat people, it's failed once or twice. First, I've screenshot this. Seems to be something going on with YouTube.
They probably messed with the back end somehow, and it's screwing things up.
The back end, huh?
I didn't.
Hey.
Oh, you did.
Nothing worse than when
You
somebody messes
did.
with the back end.
Medic.
Medic.
It's
In the military,
it's a technical term.
It's about a 50% thing. Half the time they say medic, half the time they say doc, because that was every medic's nickname. Mine too, doc. I was also dad, even though they called me Doc, because when you're in the barracks, inevitably someone's going to get Dear Johns, and that's who they go to as the medic.
You were in the military, Gary?
No, never served a day. Why would you ask that? What a weird question, Chris. Very off-putting. I'm just letting you know.
Oh, and apparently we're all wrong because my autocorrect constantly tells me it's Veterinary Day.
Shut up. He went to message me last night and autocorrect put it as Happy Veterinary Day. I looked at this. I knew what it was, and I just sort of chuckled and went, "Thanks, buddy."
Hey, boss, Reddit's coming.
Guess what, Gary and Tom? Guess what? I'm going to interview Grandpa from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Nice.
That is
Which
cool.
one?
Oh, Grandpa, don't murder the boy. He ain't done wrong.
I'm assuming you mean the original movie, or which Grandpa? And that was actually the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, right? One with Matthew McConaughey.
That's 4.
Is that 4? Is which one is where Grandpa got involved?
Oh, he's in 1 and 2 and probably 3, but depends on which one you're talking about. Probably the most famous one is from part 2, I'd imagine.
Yeah, Dugan was
most of the cast of the original
the first one.
dead now. Yeah.
Okay. How old is that guy now?
He's a great grandpa now.
Well, that was the 70s, man.
Well, it was just a guy in a costume.
He was just wearing makeup.
Guy, yeah.
So he wasn't old. Okay. I didn't know that. I thought he was old.
I think he was one of the youngest ones in the movie, wasn't he, Tom?
Potentially. Yeah, it's like I say, most of the cast is dead. That's the thing. Like,
yeah.
For Penny.
Well, let's get talking about RoboCop. It's been 20 minutes.
Yeah, I know. Is it queued up yet?
We ready?
Red? Yes, we are. Oh, we're so tiny.
Yep. Now, one of the things I think is really interesting with this movie is that it uses the news reporting for at the start of each act. So Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3.
It's actually missing the final one.
It's interesting that Verhoeven began the process of his parody stuff here that he would do later in Starship Troopers as well. It echoed right over there.
Well, it's because this movie, I mean, started from Edward Neumeier, who was a script reader over at Warner. And he had basically been given a shit ton of comic books to read. And he started noticing trends in all the comic books. And he was clearly inspired by Judge Dredd. Right. That's the one that clearly inspired him the most. So he came up with this concept.
Well, it's even in the first full body sculpt of RoboCop.
Well, yeah. Well, there's always a little bit of debate on how much he was inspired by, but it's pretty obvious, right? And then, like, the original script was sent out, and everybody turned it down just simply on the name alone, because at that time you see a RoboCop. What the hell is that? It's got to be some, New World Pictures movie or some shit, like, And of course, just like everybody else, the first thing that Verhoeven did as soon as he read the titles, he threw it in the trash. Didn't even read it, threw it in the trash. And his wife picked it out of the trash and she read it. And she's like, you should really read this. And he's like, why? Why the fuck would I want to make a movie called RoboCop? And she's like, no, I think you would really get into this. And he got to the part where Ed 209 blows away the guy in the boardroom. And they're like, we need a medic. Get a medic in here right away. And he just started laughing. And he's like, he got it. Right? He got the satire. He got what it was about. It was literally like, the cutthroat world of corporate America, where in this movie, instead of just, getting each other fired or, stepping over each other, they're literally killing each other, and all about the industrial complex and how private businesses were getting involved with the military. And also with police and with prison system and all that kind of business. And yeah, I mean, this movie takes place in 1991, but it was a little bit more ahead of its time than you'd like to think in a lot of ways, which is weird. But you know, it's a crazy film, and he got the tongue in cheek, and they're lucky they were making it at Orion and nowhere else, because had they been making it at a studio, this movie would not be the same.
Wasn't the writer also in his after hours of being a script reader sneaking onto the set of Blade Runner? I think
Yes, he had some inspiration from Blade Runner as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because he
He's
worked
like,
over
what's
at
this
Warner.
about? Because someone explained to him what the story was, immediately started coming up with this idea.
Yeah, he saw the cop car in Blade Runner on the set, the spinner, and he's like, ooh. And just the concept, because they go, what's this movie about? And they said, well, it's about robots, about this cop chasing down robots. And they're like, ooh, and it, you know, piqued his interest. He's seen the spinner and all the other stuff, the set and all the stuff they were doing. So he's like, well, these robots have got to look pretty bitchin'. When they go, well, there's a robot right there, and they pointed over at Sean Young, and he's like, that's not a fucking robot. So he's like, he wanted to see a robot, right? He's like, at that point, the most we'd had was like C-3PO and, you know, the chonky robots from the 50s and 60s and stuff. But he's like, we'd never seen a sleek, state-of-the-art, you know, what could we do with technology, even then push a little bit ahead? You know, what could they do if they could actually take a cop and make him work even after death, kind of thing? Like, just the whole concept is crazy, but at that time, it wasn't that far off. You know, it's kind of like Jurassic Park in that way, right?
Yeah.
That's funny because given how badly the suit was to work and everything else, like it was a borderline disaster when they first implemented it.
Rob Bottin, came up with that suit, and it took, what was it, like took a couple of hours.
The first time was like 11 or 12 hours, yeah, but they got it down to a couple hours at best, I think it was, by the end, but yeah.
Was the suit
And
changed?
We have another super chat from Christian.
Yeah, I know. I was waiting for a little break here. Christian Delorme, again, with another Canadian 1111. I am not drinking PBR, Gary. It's old Milwaukee. The reason I love Tom, and no, not stripper money, you never put out, Gary. Again, punctuation is important, Christian. Lest we forget, he says.
What made Milwaukee famous made a loser out of me. Somebody was talking there very quietly in the back. I couldn't understand them. Something about the suit.
Yeah, somebody mentioned
that was me. I said I had heard that the suit was supposed to be a little closer to a traditional like superhero suit until they decided on the location and they made him more like a product of Detroit.
Could be, possibly. I know initially the inspiration was more something along the lines of, like I said, kind of like Metropolis, which in turn C-3PO and all that business. But, you know, Newmeyer just wanted to see a sleek, new style robot, something we'd never seen before. And
they did that rainbow effect with paint.
Well, and they had, that's the thing, is it's never the same. I mean, that's where a lot of people debate on what the actual color was, because they would literally paint it like a car, because it was foam. It was a foam plastic, and it would crack. The paint did not like to stick to it. So after about,
especially under the
couple hours of filming, after a couple hours of filming, it would literally start to crack. So you'd have cracks start to form on RoboCop's pecs and all that kind of stuff. So they have to go in and repaint it, strip it down and repaint it. And it was a different, like the process was such a random thing that it never came out exactly the same. So the base was like this silver, gloss, and then they would paint in like a blue and a purple and a pink and some other colors, so that depending on which direction he would move and whatever light he was catching, the suit would have like this very sheen kind of look to it and change, kind of like a chrome. You know how machined down chrome, if you put it under light, you kind of get that rainbow effect. So that's what they were trying to emulate, basically. Yeah.
Here, I'm going to show it real quick. You can see the RoboDoc over on Amazon right now. And it is a very, very good film. It's a miniseries.
It just came out on video too, by the way.
Yeah,
Walmart
it's
actually
only
has a
few weeks
really
old.
bitchin' steelbook you can get at Walmart.
It is available
Get
through
your hands on
Screenbox on Amazon, and you could probably go to. Isn't Screenbox available on its own too, Tom?
I think so, but the best part is if you haven't gotten it before, you can get it like a 7-day trial, watch it all, and then cancel it, so you don't have to.
Yeah, exactly. Right here. Watch with Screenbox. Start your 7-day trial. Watch for 6.9 days, and then cancel.
But Screenbox has a lot of cool horror movies. They usually pick up whatever Shout Factory is got the rights to and stuff like that. So
yeah,
honestly, that's one of the ones that I do.
Shout Factory owns them, doesn't it?
It could very well be that they're in cahoots with each other, but like they don't Scream and Shout don't usually own the streaming rights per se of these movies, but it just seems like the whatever ones they do tend to show up there. Plus, they have that Joe Bob Briggs show on there.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
The drive-in. I by the way, because we had the director of Lady in White on for Halloween, and his movie was released through Shout Factory and
it's been out of print for a while, and that's the only reason I didn't really beg to join you guys, because I haven't seen the movie since I was a kid.
Yeah, it's a great.
It's hard
film.
to get
it
your
really
hands
is. It's
on.
not really a horror film. I tell people it's just a ghost story, but it's a coming of age story more than anything. There he is, ED 209. Before we go into that one, where is that?
20 seconds to comply.
What is what?
Martin Shinatsky, the image that you shared earlier.
Oh, let
10
me share.
seconds.
Of what
9,
inspired?
8, 7.
Who put?
Well, this is
movie back?
inspired by Matt Cross or whatever the.
Yep, from this baby.
Clearly. Yep. And I love this because the whole point of this is Dick makes this whole thing, and it's like, I love his whole speech that he gives later on to whole like, we had parts until for 10 years,
25
military
years.
contracts. Who cares if it worked or not?
I hate to admit this, but I graduated from high school the year this came out, so I saw this in theaters, and as this scene culminated, the whole theater blew up. People were just screaming. Like, it was what a moment. What a moment, honestly.
Well, what sells the whole thing isn't Ed 209 killing him. It isn't how bad it is. It's the guy going, somebody call a paramedic.
Yes.
and the sheer
And then
amount
you
of
cut
bullets
from
he
that.
absorbed.
Yeah, there's no way he's alive. And then you cut to that to the old man going, Dick, I'm very disappointed. Just
And they all look around like this happens every day. It's like,
Exactly.
This is OCP, man. At least it's safer than the street.
Well, yeah, it's sort of like I could have gone better,
That's what sells this movie.
Yeah.
You need that moment, right? Like that moment right there tells you everything you need to know about this movie. This is a comedy, right? If you don't realize it after that scene, then you do not get this movie, because it is clearly tongue-in-cheek telling you this is the cutthroat world of business. And within this scene, you get everything you need to know about this movie, basically.
Yep.
And the casualty rate here at corporate HQ is not much lower than it is in old Detroit. Like anything can happen. Right? And look at this guy. Look how much damage he absorbs. I mean,
What I love is in the second
great.
one or the third one where guys are actually literally just killing themselves and it's like throwing themselves out the window and stuff. Like,
I think that's
before we
3
go
with
any
Sean
further,
Patrick Flannery and
Yeah.
Jill Hennessy of all people. Sorry.
Well,
but like the
funny
company's
part
going
about this
under.
story
Yeah.
is the fact that they shot it, but then they brought the actor back and said, Verhoeven didn't think it was bloody enough, so they put squibs all over him, and
That was
redid it.
Verhoeven's big thing he would say all the time. More blood, more fucking blood, more
fucking
blood.
And so they shoot it, but the last squib that goes off was right over his crotch.
Over his nuts. Yeah.
And it knocked the shit out of his nuts.
So he said he's sitting there trying not to like go, while he's sitting there because he knows the camera's still rolling. Because he does not want to have to do it again. Yeah.
So when he
No, this
says,
was a very
"God
dangerous
damn."
movie. If you watch RoboDoc, you learn a lot about how dangerous this movie ended up being.
seriously.
And it's a lot of it's
Let's-
Verhoeven's
let's
fault. And he's
just
lucky
talk
he didn't
about
kill
that, Tom.
nobody.
Let's talk about that, Tom. This documentary, I thought I knew pretty much everything there was to know about this movie because
Yeah, same.
baptized myself in this fucking movie since it came out, reading everything from Starlog, to Cinefantastique, everything. And oh my God, I felt like a novice watching that documentary. There was so much new information. the whole Oreo thing, and we'll get to that later. Fucking like what? Because I'd heard about him doing the call me Robo thing, and I thought that's kind of a weird. I thought was he serious? Who the fuck would?
No, I've heard that he's a method actor. So
very much, and my answer to that is what Vincent Price said to Jack Nicholson when he made the Edgar Allan Poe the Raven. When Nicholson throws him into a chair, Vincent stood up and he says, "You don't have to throw me, boy. Just act like you're throwing me. I'll do the rest." Yep. And not fond of Olivier was another one. Hated method actors. He says, just act. Read the lines with emotion. That's it.
That was what was that movie with Dustin Hoffman?
It was with Hoffman.
Marathon Man.
Yeah, where Hoffman stayed up for 3 days to get the tired, and he just said, "Just try acting, dear boy. It's so much easier."
It's funny, man. But in this film, the whole documentary, man, you've got to see this miniseries. It's so worth it. Yeah. I mean, I watched the first episode. I went, "Oh, that was really good. Oh, this isn't a movie. There's more." And I just, I lost myself. I just sat there and waited for all
favorite story. I can't remember the individual who it was, but it was one of the special effects guys. Because his other, no, it wasn't Phil Tippett. It was one of the other guys. Because he's telling the story, because that was Verhoeven's whole thing is, "You're fucking me on the movie. You're fucking me. You're fucking me. You're all fucking me." And then the one guy goes up. He goes. So I walked up to him one morning. He goes, "I'm just going to tell you this now, Paul. At least 2 to 3 times today, I'm going to fuck you. I'm going to fuck you so hard. I'm going to fuck you, and I'm going to fuck you again." And he goes, "Well, at least somebody has the decency to tell me to my face when they're going to fuck me."
I love how insane Paul Verhoeven is.
Verhoeven is a complete character, man.
He was almost pulled off this movie before that, where he was, I guess he had actors up on a ledge that was like a 3-story drop with no safety. And they're like going, "You can't do that." He's arguing with the producers. So he runs up to the ledge and he's jumping up and down at the top of the ledge going, "See, it's safe. It's safe."
Yeah, that was the other one too.
It's safe, and he didn't prove it was safe.
Where I think it was Kurtwood who was telling the story about him this time, because normally Paul says he wouldn't put his actors through anything he wouldn't do.
Right.
But the one big huge explosion after they're blowing up the whole block after they get out of jail and they got the big guns now, he actually went up to Kurtwood and that other guy and goes, he goes, "Normally I would never put my actors through anything I wouldn't do myself. I would never do it."
And the crazy part of that is they did get hurt doing that.
They did get hurt, yeah.
They had small particles of glass.
Well, they got a bump for it too, yeah.
And
a stunt bump, yeah.
That is scary shit.
My favorite Verhoeven.
Get that documentary, man.
My favorite Verhoeven story is when he was dealing with the girls who were the prostitutes.
The bitches!
He thought that was their name. So it was like, "Okay, come on, bitches."
Okay, do you think the bitches should sit down first and do the cocaine, or do they? He kept referring to them as the bitches.
Let's have a big round of applause for our bitches, everybody. They were fantastic today.
I still have to remind Gary that's not my name.
The movie. I really wanted to talk about that miniseries docuseries.
Speaking of the cast, Ronnie Cox, talk about inspired casting, and he lobbied for this role. And actually, Kurtwood was originally going to play this role, but Ronnie wanted it so badly because he wanted to get out of this. He had this kind of goody two shoes kind of image in Hollywood ever since Deliverance and stuff like that. So he's always playing, the good cop, the chief, like in Beverly Hills Cop, for instance, and stuff like that.
Right.
So he wanted this so badly so he could show that he could play a bad guy. And this is one of his favorite roles. You could tell just by the way he still talks about it in that documentary that he just loved this role.
I got to shout out.
And when you watch the documentary, one thing you didn't get from that documentary is one single person who didn't have a good time making the film.
Well, they went through hell, but they had a good time doing it. Yeah. Or at least they appreciate what they had to go through.
That good looking actor, I can't think of his name, that yells at Tommy when he's like covered in mutated skin. Don't
Yeah, the one
touch
that
me,
almost
man!"
played. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's
He
Ray
said it was
Fine?
the best experience of his entire career.
Ray
working on
Ray
that film.
Wise from Twin Peaks.
yeah, Ray Wise.
Ray
Yeah, Ray
Wise.
Wise.
Yeah,
Ray Wise
Because
was
he almost played Clarence, but then Kurtwood got it instead. Yeah.
he could have pulled it off, but who wouldn't have changed? Who would change a thing, right?
There's
Well,
nothing I'd change. Nothing.
Yeah, there's very little casting. The like the bad guys got flipped around a little bit because, like I said, Kurtwood is initially going to play Dick Jones, but then Ronnie lobbied for that role, and then Kurtwood ended up playing Clarence, which he was happy about anyway. But then that got Ray pushed down to Leon, so there was that kind of a shakeup. But otherwise, like they had wanted either gosh, what the hell's his name from Michael Ironside was originally who they wanted to play RoboCop.
Yep.
And they also were looking at was it Rutger Hauer or was it the other one that Paul worked with in Flesh and Blood?
Brian James.
Trying to.
Brian James is huge. He was 6'4".
No. It was one of somebody else. I think it was Rutger Hauer or somebody like that. But he's like they
was
got
more
into
like
it.
Rutger, but Brian James is the other one that
because they were thinking him, but then him and Verhoeven had gotten into it, so Verhoeven said he wouldn't work with him again. So that got in the way there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Rutger Hauer.
Yeah, because I can tell you, Rutger was not fond of him.
Mm-hmm.
He said as much as that with me when we were talking. Because one of the first things I talked to him about wasn't Blade Runner. It was Flesh and Blood. I like that film, by the way.
Yeah. You like Blade Runner?
No, I said
Flesh and Blood.
Shut up, Chris. Shut up, Chris. Chris is Meg today.
Gary likes Blade Runner? I had no idea.
So
I want to shout out to Miguel Ferrer as well. Speaking of Twin Peaks actors,
God rest his soul. What a great
R.I.P.
I'm a huge fan of his, mainly because he's the guy that I looked at and went, okay, I can have a busted hairline and still be a badass.
He plays multiple roles in this movie. If you see the documentary, you find that out. I did not know that before either.
I didn't realize that unless I was thinking he was all the same character.
Well, what happens is Edward Neumeier and him would come in once in a while after hours when he wasn't on, because his character gets killed pretty early on. So within like the scene later on when RoboCop gets jumped by the SWAT guys, him and Ed Neumeier are two of the SWAT guys.
Oh, no,
they did. They filmed in Texas, Tim.
Yeah. So they were stuck on set anyway, so they had nothing better to do. But
I get excited every time I'd see him pop up in something, whether he's like an ensign on Star Trek or he was in that low budget Stephen King movie Night Flyer, which was amazing. And it was amazing because of him.
It was a lot better than what you expect because it was low budget.
Well, you know what I love about Miguel's character in this movie too is he is still corrupted by the system, right? Because normally he would be the character that would be the good guy, right? He has the vision for RoboCop. So of course he's going to be good of heart. He's going to be the one good guy in the shitty company. Oh no, he's just as corrupt as the rest of them, which I love, right? He just happened to have this other idea. Because then when you stop to think about his idea, it's actually worse than Ed 209 anyway. Because taking a literal person and shoving him into a machine, but yeah.
I don't want to see him as a good guy, though. In most stuff, he's got that almost WWE heel charisma.
He's a likable guy. Yeah, he's a very you want to kind of like but hate him at the same time. I mean, and
you have so much fun watching him be an asshole because sometimes you go into work and you want to be that asshole to people too.
Well, yeah, I mean, I love his line where he's like, "I love this fucking guy." That's he's so just pumped up by this and. It's all just so he can squash Dick Jones, but then Dick Jones squashes him. Yeah. Can you fly, Bobby? Because he burnt the fucking money! It's as good as marked! And then this is another scene where they're like, Jesus, we couldn't believe now in retrospect how dangerous we were. Because now, they would have straps.
Now, some of the stuff wasn't stunts when it was a stunt.
Yeah.
They were treating it like stunts.
These guys were all just hanging out the back of the truck and shit and even not even thinking about it at the time about how dangerous it really was. And yeah, Paul just didn't have any kind of real sense of he just wanted to get the fucking movie done, right? Like that was his whole goal and he didn't care at what expense it seemed like.
It's kind of that micro safety third philosophy of filmmaking. But
like I said, we're just lucky nobody died in the making of this movie. There was some permanent damage done to people, but we were lucky nobody died.
the thing is, he
From
was
that
never
last
doing it
time?
deliberately. He wasn't like, was it William Friedkin who would, like deliberately hurt actors to get a reaction. He was just insane and going for it full throttle no matter what, and probably didn't realize
I think there was a translation barrier there too.
Well, there's no question, because English wasn't his first language.
That's what I mean, is like he had a hard time expressing what he wanted half the time too, I think.
Yep.
And of course,
a lot of people who just thought he was a
when they
dickhole
shot
because,
the film, they shot the entire film except for one scene, which was the death of Murphy. And
yeah, what's funny is
there's
there's not much cut out of this movie, funnily enough, because most, that was what Ed Neumeyer said in the documentary. Most ensemble cuts, or assembly cuts are like 3-4 hours long sometimes. And then you whittle it down from there. He's like, there was only like this movie's like an hour and 45 minutes. The assembly cut was like 118 minutes, he said. So like, that's literally about what they cut out, was like 10-15 minutes of just ancillary stuff here and there.
Yep.
So like, there's very little that was left on there. A lot of this was
scene,
edited in the process. I mean, yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Well, exactly. So they go back to California, and the studio sees it and loves the movie, but the death scene's not there. So they gave them whatever money they needed. They said, yes, make the scene. So they shoot the scene, and they had to rebuild the set.
You're talking about a different story. That's right. Okay, yeah, they did this on purpose. You're right, because they ran out of money. And they knew as long as this was the main scene, they didn't shoot yet, because they would get the money for it, because you can't have the movie without it.
Exactly. So that basically,
it was also the most butchered scene in the movie.
Threw the money at them and said, "Do it," because they fell in love with the cut that they saw. They knew this was a hit.
Well, they didn't get what they were doing with the dailies, so they sent them the rough cut, like you said, and then they kind of saw what the movie was. Yeah.
But they were done, and they were out of Texas. They weren't there. They didn't have access to the warehouse anymore. So the studio gave them the money to rebuild this set right here. They rebuilt it. That's in Los Angeles right there. That's not in Texas. And again, the black dude, man, some of the things he did was unscripted. And he went over the top with some of the shit that he did. Oh my God.
And the best part is the whole gang. They were every time one of them ad-lib something, one of them say, "Oh, I wish I thought it first."
Yeah, and they would ad-lib reactions to the other guys too, and I love that. But I love this scene where he goes,
"Cops don't like me. You see,
really?
and I don't like cops."
I always thought that was an homage to Caddyshack.
Me too at first, I kind of thought, but I wasn't sure what he was doing there. But yeah, it's just they all got their little thing that they do.
This scene was so, how old was I when this movie came out? I think I was about 10 years old. And
came out in 87. Yeah.
So yeah, I'd be 11. And I wanted to see it so bad. My mom heard about this scene. So of course, there's no way I was going to get to see this. My workaround was that at the supermarket in the 80s, they would have novelizations of just about every popular movie. So I was like, "Oh, Mom, can I get the book?" Because it's like, "It's a book, Mom. I'm reading," So that was like my sneak of getting around not being able to see RoboCop. And I was so excited to get that book. And they describe it pretty graphically in the novelization as well. I mean, I've always wondered, how do you get a hole blown through your head and they still recover enough of you to make a robot out of you?
They really don't. But like, yeah, that's the thing is there's always a lot of debate of how much of Murphy is actually left, because I didn't find out until later on in a much later documentary a couple years back that came out that basically he is all but like what was left of his brain, basically, for the most part. I mean, there's a few organs I think he still has left to function, but other than that, like that's all they have left. And his face is literally stretched over like an endoskeleton, like the Terminator.
Yeah,
that's why it looks that way.
And that is such a great effect, by the way. Both team again nailed it.
Oh, and that was another great story in the documentary too, because the end scene they were shooting all the other stuff around RoboCop, and the makeup guys are like, "Are you ever going to bring Peter up? Because this makeup has an expiration date on it, because it only lasts so long. And it's a very tedious makeup the way it worked." And by the time they called him up, they're like, no, we're refusing to let him go up and shoot like this. This makeup looks like shit now because you waited too fucking long and it's falling apart.
Yep.
It was a big fight too, I guess. So then they fucked him on that one. No.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, you think about it, like RoboCop is also kind of a great, Frankenstein, modern Prometheus story. You're dealing with reanimating the dead.
Well, it's very Jesus allegory, yeah.
You're also dealing with kind of, you think about it in terms of, it almost makes me think of the new Beatles song where they used AI to kind of extract Lennon's voice out, but they also had to train it on his voice to kind of go, okay, like here's what John sang, but you kind of actually have to generate another version of it to bring it out. And it's almost like, okay, so is RoboCop, is there really anything of Murphy left, or is this a reconstruction of his personality? It
is the latter. And that's where, Verhoeven has said that's where when he starts to wake up, that's his soul, coming back to fight for. Because he even says it at the end. He goes, I had a family. I can't remember them, but I still feel them.
And that is so much more interesting than just having it be like, oh, it's his brain and he's starting to remember who he is. It's like, that kind of philosophical question of, what are we? We replace like all of the cells in our body every 7 years, but yet we remain. What does that mean? What is that? That's kind of a cool philosophical question that's buried in this movie. I love that.
Well, the story Peter Weller
even before
compares
he
it to
actively
is
starts
the
remembering.
Jewish golem, in that it's basically something that's brought to light from clay to protect a community, and that's basically what RoboCop is.
Yeah, I got to read some of these comments real quick here, guys. So just give me a moment. Let's see. Cox definitely pulled off the asshole character in RoboCop and SG-1, as well as Next Generation. By the way,
Jellicoe's awesome.
Yep, it was Jericho, right? Jericho.
Jellicoe.
Jellicoe
with the wrong guy.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, he didn't want to do that scene.
Miguel did not. No.
Yeah, Miguel didn't like him grabbing his hair the way he did.
And he's like, well, go with it. Just do what you're going to do. React naturally. Yeah. He's like, I got to protect my character just as much as you got to protect yours.
And by the way, another thing I love in this is when Clarence keeps saying Dick, the way he says Dick, it annoyed
Look at my
Ronnie
face,
Cox. He
Dick.
said it annoyed him. But he says, I like that. Because they're friends in real life. He's like, I like the way he said my name. It was insulting and it annoyed me.
Oh, wow. That's the thing is, no, nobody ever
once,
calls
right?
him Richard.
I
don't think
he
anybody
says
does, do they?
No.
Does maybe Miguel Ferrer say to him right before he gets himself taken out? It's like, just calm down there, Richard. Someone says it just once. I made a note of it.
Maybe. I don't remember if they do.
I'm going to have to go back and look for that.
That's kind of cool though, in terms of like how actors interact with directors and that sort of thing. I remember his story about David Lynch during Twin Peaks. There was like this sad story being told, and David goes like, Miguel, what's wrong with you? Why are you making that face? And he's like, I'm trying not to laugh. This story is just really cheesy. And he's like, if the story is making you laugh, then laugh. We'll use it. And then that's the scene in Twin Peaks as well, where he starts cracking up and him and Sheriff Truman start getting into it. But anyway, just something I thought.
No, that's good. No, I love Twin Peaks, by the way. Tim says, hold on, let me go with Tim's comment. Good thing Alec Baldwin wasn't in this film.
Yeah, he sent me a private message in the background because I said, we're lucky nobody died. He goes, yeah, because Alec Baldwin
wasn't there shooting.
Yeah.
In the scene where RoboCop is dreaming and he's remembering he was once Alex Murphy is so iconic because it gives you an impression that there's still some humanity left in him. My favorite moment of that, by the way, is the change in his walking, where it becomes more intense and he's just becoming almost more mechanical as he gets angry, walking towards the camera's following him backwards. I love that fucking scene. It's one of my favorite moments in the film. Let's see. Sasha Fred says, oh wait, that is the one. Let's see. Tim Anima, who is here that could talk, but she's afraid to talk over us. You know that when he leaves the garage in his car for the first time, by the way, he's driving, and that's true. That was him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
and he was only
he
wearing.
actively starts remembering.
Was he in his underwear? What was it? They said he wasn't wearing the armor.
Well, they couldn't get him in the car. He couldn't get in the
Yeah.
car with the bottom part, so he had like a leotard thing that was underneath the suit. So they would just,
Something like it, yeah.
there's a lot of times they would just, if he was only going to be shot from the waist up or whatever, they would just have him be dressed from just the waist up. He wouldn't have the whole
it would cut
outfit on.
time. Yeah, it would absolutely cut time with the costume.
But
Tim
in this
says
case, it was because he couldn't get in and out of the car otherwise.
It's like
that
Sean
brings up a
Connery
good
and
medic
Harrison
question
Ford
here.
acting in their underwear.
Yeah.
For
I love this scene with
Crusade.
this fucking weapon, by the way. This is great.
Yeah.
Everybody stops shooting to look. What the fuck is that?
Well, I can't remember the actual gun that they built on, but they talk about it in the
wanted to use a
documentary,
Desert Eagle, but it wasn't big enough. So they had to
they
build
had it
this.
out of
Oh, okay.
It's Beretta.
It's a Beretta, yeah.
Yeah, Beretta. It's a especially
And they added onto it. Yeah, because the whole reason they had to use it was because the RoboCop finger wouldn't fit unless it had the extended.
Yeah, they had to
trigger.
change the trigger housing. And but Tim says, Gary, wouldn't Murphy pass out from shock first when he got hit? The fact is the body is weird. The body is weird. Sometimes I call the two different shocks that you go through with being shot is psychogenic and hypovolemic shock. And
I was going to say a lot. I've known where I've been around where people have been shot before. You almost don't realize you've been shot at first.
I didn't know I was shot when I got shot. I looked at my friend who was apologizing to me profusely, and I looked at him
really
like,
sorry about that, Gary.
it's yeah, I know, Chris.
I get angry
And
sometimes.
I couldn't believe he did that. By the way, this is one of my
wasn't
favorite
an
pause.
accident, Gary.
This is one of my favorite pause moments in the movie. Is the comic book rack,
Yep.
and all of us
There's
have done this to look
Blade
at what
Runner.
comics
I
are.
love
Blade
that they did
Runner's
this in
there.
the documentary.
Rom
They
is
also
in there.
said which one they grabbed because we also knew that which one he grabbed before too was the Iron Man one. Yeah.
Yeah. Rom is in there too. But again, when he gets hit, sometimes the shock is really the thing that it's the most merciful thing that can happen to you is shock.
Aren't there a
and
lot
when
of
it
cases
doesn't-
of people
when it
getting shot
doesn't-
with non-fatal wounds that die anyway just because they're so freaked
It
out? that
all
they're shot?
depends on where you get hit too.
It
Again,
depends
it's
on where
all-
you get hit. And some of these guys will sit there and fucking linger. Because I told somebody one time, you see people cut people's throats in movies and then they're just like dead. I'm like, that's not how it works. It takes 20 minutes before the heart stops. It'll just keep pumping blood for 20 minutes. And you'll just lay there.
I don't want to know how you know that.
I'm a
moving
medic.
on.
That's-
I'm just
I'm a
kidding.
paramedic and a medic, and I
That's
know
why
these
I
things.
always
I'm
cringe when I
kidding.
see that. I always cringe when
Oh,
I
I
see
get
that
what you're
movie
saying,
because
Tom.
I know that
I get
fact.
what you're saying now.
They
But,
actually keep that detail going with Boddicker at the end because he's still holding his neck, but the blood's still going at the end of the movie.
Now, I'm not sure which scene you're talking about now, Reed, when you wrote that at 3:49. What time is it?
Well,
now? So it's
before
10
we get
minutes
too,
ago.
Murphy
I think he was
getting-
talking about the Murphy scene because I wanted to get there was some
Yeah.
thing or two I wanted to touch on before we get past that because I know in
Okay,
the test screening that was the scene that is one of the most notorious scenes, not just in the movie but probably in film history because in the first test screening, 10 people got up and walked out during that scene and they were all women.
Yep.
Okay, which is funny because this movie does have a pretty good female fan base after the fact, but going back to that scene, that was also the scene that the MPAA really keyed in on mainly because of the
An X
headshot
rating.
and it kept giving him an X rating, kept giving him an X rating, kept giving him an X rating no matter how much they were cutting it down. And of course, most people now have seen the unrated cut because that's the version that's most widely available. But yeah, I mean, the original version is a lot quicker when it goes through it. And it's kind of a bit more visceral in a way that so much of it happens off screen that your brain fills a lot more in.
Well, it's the headshot that hurt him, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say, seeing the uncut version almost makes it more laughable because, like Ed's right, like the arm shot is horrible, and that's what helped them get the R rating was cutting that bit out.
Yeah,
and
it
some
was
other stuff like that.
the
But yeah.
actual headshot that they were sitting there trying to whittle it down, and they realized, oh, it's the headshot.
Which sucks because
giving
it was
the
one of the best looking dummies I've ever seen.
Robo Teen at work, man. That was fully a puppet because you see
Yeah.
him from one angle, then they cut And
a full or like a 180 or almost like around his head. Yeah.
Yep. So, here's another one that's really good too. AF 88 Watcher 88 says Swamp Thing. That is correct. Ray Weiss was Alex in the original Swamp Thing 1982 movie.
Yep.
So that was a good call.
Did you have anything to add, Steven? It sounded like you might have had something too.
Oh yeah, I wanted to go back to what Gerry was talking about what happens when your throat gets cut. That's why I always cringe every time I see that in a movie, because I know that fact, and I went, that is just one of the roughest ways to go out. It's like nails on a chalkboard to me when I see that in a movie. I gotta look away.
So do you know that for the same reason that Christopher Lee did what the sound of a guy getting stabbed in the back sounded like?
Yeah.
Well, that's because Christopher Lee is actually a badass.
Yeah.
I know it from the 7 Train.
He was the real James Bond.
Yeah.
And he's also first cousins with Ian Fleming. By the way, Wild Man Beyond is new. I've never seen that name. Welcome to the show,
he's one
my
of the
friend.
regulars. I've seen him around.
Over on Midnight's Edge?
Yep.
All right. It looks like the game really putting the movie back into the limelight with you talking about it's totally accurate and relatable today. This movie is still, in my opinion, it stands up to today.
Pretty much the reason why I suggested we got to it this weekend was between the game and the
it was a great suggestion. I'm glad you did. And I tell people, because like everybody goes, well, why are you switching? I said, because Tom made the connection with the RoboDoc and the game coming out all within a month. It's like, we got to do RoboCop. And it's too bad we didn't
get
trendy with the movie release.
That was the initial plan. Yeah.
So
the
let's
thing
see.
About this story. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I try to pay attention to the chat. I'm sorry. In the 80s, there was a RoboCop cartoon. Did you guys watch it?
There's 2 of them.
Oh yeah.
There was one that came out in the 90s and a TV series.
There was 2 of them. Yeah.
And plus the 90s one, but I did see
the 80s one was terrible.
It was. I liked it, but I mean, I was a kid, so yeah. Kids will like anything.
Hey, boss. It's time for us to go to our.
Oh, let's pause it. Yeah, you already paused it. It's already paused. So, I do like this scene, by the way. But go ahead with our promotion. It is our merch break commercial. Please, if you do not have any Pop Culture Minefield merchandise, think about it. We've already had some. Christian Norm bought his, and he looks cool in his. Hi, my name's Tabitha. I look so hot. My name is Chris, and I just want to belong to somebody. I'm a sequel chaser. Let's see. Let me get to the last. AF Watcher says, I'm shocked how much other millennials can relate to this flick. My bro and I, along with our friends. I'm not surprised by that. I'm not.
The movie, like Blade Runner, is a big part of it is dehumanization. Murphy is literally dehumanized to a machine, and throughout the course of the movie, he regains his humanity. He basically goes through a very similar arc to what Deckard goes through in Blade Runner.
Oh, absolutely. My last day as a paramedic, the first thing that morning before the sun was even up, I had to go recover the body of a woman that I had delivered to Harborview Hospital up in Seattle for a 72-hour psych watch. And the minute they released her, she walked out onto the 405 and let vehicles hit her. And the last one was a semi. And the new steel-belted tires that were on this truck were brand new and sharp edges, and it clipped off the right parietal side of her skull. It's almost surgical, the way it was done. And her eyes were fixed and dilated. She was not there. And we could not transport her until her heart stopped. And so we sat there for 45 minutes on the side of 405 until her heart stopped. Because when you have an open skull injury like that, that is what's referred to as an obvious sign of death. They're not alive and there's no saving them. And it's just something else, you know. Eyes were fixed and dilated. And it's just a hell of a thing. The autonomic system was still functioning. She was breathing. Shallow, uneven, but it's weird. And I think this film, despite its... shooting through the fucking skirt is one of my favorite.
This is the most memorable scenes in the movie. Yeah,
it is. And they thought about it on the set. That they came up with that idea of shooting through the dress.
Yeah, originally it was supposed to just buzz past her head. Yeah, but Verhoeven had the idea to shoot him in the dick. The famous RoboCop shot a guy in the dick.
I will notify a rape crisis sometime.
Yeah, I know. Thank you so much. You have been through a trauma. I will contact.
Suffered an emotional shock. Oh, this whole thing's great because it's so ridiculous. The dialogue's so ridiculous. It's like, I want a car.
This guy, the guy that takes the mayor hostage, is in the documentary. They interviewed him. And he's talking about this scene. He was supposed to be somebody else, and he ended up playing this character.
Yeah.
And he's also with the actual police. He works with the police. I can't remember what he did. Do you remember, Tom? But he worked with the actual.
No, he didn't. Well, he didn't. He knew guys, is what he said in the thing. He knew a lot of guys. So I think he plays a similar role in another movie too, doesn't he?
He works security for actors.
Yeah.
Is the idea he lost? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Is the idea that he lost this election to that mayor and he's disputing it, right? He screams
Yes.
something about a recount and a helicopter and some money.
Yes.
He wants everything you would have if you thought you'd won the. I want this.
I want a
this,
brand
and
new
this.
car that gets really bad mileage.
Yeah.
What's
I
funny
want
is
a
he doesn't
sucks
even-
6,000.
What's funny is he doesn't even die. I mean, it looks like he gets killed, but there's a, I don't know if it was ever shot or not, but they talk about it in the documentary. And this is another thing I didn't know. I don't think they shot it because, as it said, it seemed like they were editing the movie as they were going along because Newmeyer was on the set and one of the only people that by the end of the movie that Verhoeven was talking to still. And he had pretty much would tell them what they needed or didn't need after a while because they got pissed because I guess one of the big chase scenes, he's like, well, we really don't need this. So like they were kind of upset. They're like, yeah, we don't, but we wanted to shoot it anyway, you know, because it was cool.
Right.
But yeah, you know, whatever. Like, so he was saving some money and time on a lot of things. And yeah, but I guess there was a scene afterwards where the mayor's still alive or the former mayor's still alive or whatever. But yeah.
They should have used him in the sequel as the next mayor and just had him been a little bit of a cyborg.
I like
too,
the mayor
like
in the
Cyber
sequel.
Mayor.
I actually like the mayor in the sequel if you haven't seen it, but
I've seen it, but it's been a while. I
that's the one
concentrated on
that
this one last
the black
night.
guy who's all like, that machine is in with him. It's a killer. I seen it. He was the one that took the bribe money. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The problem with RoboCop 2 is they didn't want to do RoboCop 2, so they made it about making fun of doing a sequel to RoboCop.
In a way, yeah. I love RoboCop 2 for different reasons than I love RoboCop 1, though. I mean, it's a very different film in a lot of ways. Yeah.
I do really actually love RoboCop 2. I'm going to throw in with that.
I enjoyed it myself. I don't think it's as good as the first film, but it is still quite enjoyable.
It's like well, it was what Tom said. It's good for different reasons, and I do love the Frank Miller cameo too.
And by the way, the kid that's in the big, the storefront scene, he plays a Boy Scout, and that was cut from the film. He gets a more prominent role as one of the villains. He's the little bad boy in RoboCop 2. He was supposed to be in this film.
He was my
you're
inspiration for my
mistaken.
lifetime.
He was one of the kids looting the sports store.
No,
Yeah,
I
but
was
he's
gonna
a
say,
Boy
you-
Scout, wasn't he? Or was he a baseball team?
No, what you
No, he's
mistook
baseball
was
team. He was from a
he's
baseball
in the sequel, but he was supposed to be in the first movie.
Mhm.
He is one of the kids on the baseball team who has a couple lines in the second film when RoboCop comes in. He's one of the kids talking shit to RoboCop. He's like, "You're fucked up," or whatever. Like that kid.
Yeah.
He's like, he was supposed to be in the scene we just passed with the guy in the gas station reading one of the comic books when RoboCop comes in, but
Right, he's
of
supposed
course,
to be in that scene. That was it.
yeah, Verhoeven, as usual, wasn't paying attention to the schedule, and they got too late in the day, so the kid had to get sent home because of regulations. So like, fuck it, he's not in the scene. So like that. So to make it up to him, they brought him back in the sequel. Is what happened. Yeah. But that kid who plays the main role in the sequel is really good. Like,
isn't that the
he
same
was
kid?
kind of surprising. No.
Oh.
It's a different kid.
I thought it was the same kid.
I love
Nope.
the scene where he's, where they're torturing the guy, and they're just like, you just said you were going to scare him, and he goes, looks pretty scared to me. But then the look on his face when he grabs him, not grabs him by the back of the head, but grabs the kid by the back of the head and like makes him watch as they like torture this guy to death.
Oh yeah.
It was like that kid really sold that moment, and I just thought that was right. Again, as a kid, I did get to watch that one, but the fact that
and the other
killed that
poignant moment, I was gonna say, is when Robo is there with him and the kid dies, right? Like that's a very poignant moment. Yeah.
Seeing that for the first time as a kid, that like was a moment that got to me. I thought it was very powerful, and maybe that's why I like RoboCop 2 so much. But I think there's a lot to like about it. I mean, the Phil Tippett upped his game on the stop motion work and the designs of the
Well, it proves that Irvin Kershner can do a good sequel, right?
Well, if you guys remember, he's the one who started the whole use of go motion animation, and it got its big start with Dragon Slayer. But the fact is in this one, I thought he used go motion animation, but they couldn't afford it, so he did something.
He did poor man's go motion, yeah.
Poor man's by hitting the table right when they snapped the picture, causing a slight blur.
He did the same thing. I don't think he mentioned it in that, but they talked about it, I think, also in one of the other documentaries during the shootout scene with Ed 209 as well. Like every time he would do every time the cannons would go off, he'd also shake the camera then.
It was good stuff. By the way, I want to go back to the chat, make sure that we're keeping up with what they're saying. Let's see what's going on here. Wild Man Beyond says, do you agree that RoboCop predicted the crazy world we are in now today?
In a lot of ways, yes.
Yeah.
Blade Runner did too. This film, what is that movie called? Videodrome. Also touches on stuff too.
Videodrome with Deborah Harry.
Yep. It's a classic. Not one of my favorite films by Cronenberg, but
not very cohesive.
It's profound in what it was saying at the time.
I think the most predictive movies are probably, RoboCop, and also, of course, Demolition Man.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Idiocracy. Don't forget Idiocracy.
We finally have the three shells. We finally have the three shells.
Don't forget Idiocracy.
Howdy and hail, Christopher Dominguez. This is Disney Sheepherder. What is up? Hope you're having a good day.
Like that icon there.
Oh, Doba Fett is here. Greetings to you. What is
hey, who knows? A union goes on strike and fucks everything up. Nothing topical about that, right?
Not at all. By the way, Disney Sheepherder agrees. Good for different reasons, and some of those are not necessarily good, and yet they.
You know what's funny?
There are moments.
Because I'm trying to remember the last time we actually had cops go on strike, because I think this was actually based on some real event from the 70s or something like that. Not the actual corporation.
Yeah, that's why I tell people they're nothing like the military, because soldiers can't go on strike.
Right, but I'm trying to remember when it actually happened last. But when they had that whole thing about defund the cops, I was like, oh shit, we're about to enter RoboCop territory now. Because I said, I guarantee you, if that actually were to happen, the cops would go on strike. Like, fucked.
I assume that was based on the air traffic controller strike.
Could have been, but FKHC says it was some in New York, and I think he's right, because that's what I was trying to think. I think it was in the
police strike was
like
in
that.
1919, right after
the
First World War. Yeah.
They
haven't.
NYPD had a strike in the 70s.
They had
or at least let a lot of people go.
Okay, you're both talking at the same time. John, go first, and then T.
They haven't had a strike recently, but what they'll do is they'll get the blue flu, and a lot of them will call in.
Yeah, call in sick.
To force
1971 in New York.
So they had 171. All I remember is back in right after World War I, there was a huge New York City police strike. Teague, what were you saying, buddy?
They had a strike in 1971 because my father
that's what you were
city detective, and as a detective, he went to work. They were like the only one, because that's a management level cop. So, there was a police strike in 1971 in New York, and also, future stuff, private prisons, they got that one right too.
Yeah, private prisons was another big thing at the time.
Speaking
Yeah,
of strikes, Gary, just as an aside, are you guys ever going to do a post strike show? Because as a Hollywood refugee, I've got a lot to say about.
Well, I got to tell you, a lot of people don't realize that that's impacted my career.
Oh, yeah?
I haven't made money in over 5 months because of that fucking strike.
It fucked with me. I'm trying to get some stuff off the ground. Everyone goes underground. Well, who do I talk to? I can just basically sit around holding my
We got to
dick.
talk about this scene. But yeah,
Anyway,
I agree.
Let me know about that because I got a lot to say, especially as someone who's essentially like, I'm not going to work with guilds or unions again. But anyway, let's go back to the show.
I got to go back to the chat here, but this scene is so important for so many different reasons because so many things got fucked up in the making of this scene. Let's see. I'm highlighting. 2 is a lot of fun, just unrefined ideas and plays down how human he was by the end of the first film.
Yeah, they really rushed the second film. That was the other problem.
It felt rushed. I heard they were going to
that was the first hit Orion had in a while, and they needed the second one fast.
Has anyone seen the Frank Miller original draft script? Because he claimed it was like the best story he's ever
Actually, you can get it in comic book form.
I don't think. Yeah, it was a 4-issue comic series.
2 is almost exactly the same. 3 is similar, just a little bit more R-rated and more attached to part 2. Like there's a lot of elements that carry over from part 2 into 3. But the main story arc of part 3 is exactly the same.
I don't
now. AF Watcher says, I heard they were going to have Robo bludgeon Clarence instead of stabbing him.
Maybe, but I know that it makes sense. Like, it made total sense to have him use that spike, right? It's something that, like, look, I could break down this movie scene by scene. This is like my Citizen Kane, right? Like, how, I'm not kidding. Like, I mean, it's funny, but it's not like, you know how Ebert used to go in and break down Citizen Kane scene by scene, shot by shot. I could do that through this whole movie. There's all so much in this movie, like the Christ allegories, the whole satire, the comments. There's a whole bit about this guy, if you know anything about him. Like the whole reason he's picking on this kid for being a college boy is he is the smart guy of the group.
Yep.
Like, so he like in his background, he's like, all these guys have little backgrounds and stuff that Paul and they came up with to give these guys character and stuff too, you know? And there's a lot that goes into this whole thing about everything here that is about this, like this scene here, right? Like he recognizes Murphy and he's like, we killed you, right? And that makes Murphy twitch a little bit, but at the same time he still does his job. But this is starting that rolling down of the whole system of, wait a minute.
Well, it leads him to go back to the police station and break
to investigate his own murder. Yeah.
Three words: High Plains Drifter.
But I can't. It led to complications because of the pyrotechnics, and they had.
It's because Verhoeven wanted everything big,
and he wanted that sign. It was important to get that sign in, and it ended up not really being in the movie. You can see it briefly with the explosion, but the explosion was so.
Well, what
big,
happened was
it brought the police.
Well, I think there was another thing too, because I think they briefly touched on in that documentary. Because what it was is a shell station. And at the one angle of the shot that they didn't use in the movie, when the S blows up, you can see it from the angle they show, but not quite as well.
Yep.
The S blows up. So it's like hell engulfed in flames.
Yep.
And you can only see it from the other shot. But I think they had mentioned something like Shell gave them the okay, but they weren't too keen on that whole hell bit. So I think that's why they didn't use that version of it.
You think that's why? I think so too.
I think so, yeah.
Well, this is the great thing about
I like the bike sequence and the Kane fight. That's in the sequel. I like the actor who plays Kane. He got kind of screwed over by Hollywood being typecast, and it sucks. That happens so much to these actors that are more versatile than what the movies allow them to be. Read by Nature, Doughboy says, I never liked how they just discarded Murphy's widow and that whole subplot. How do you feel?
That's one of the things I like about the remake, actually. I know that's kind of sacrilegious, especially considering this is one of my favorite movies of all time. I don't hate the remake. And that's one of the things the remake did kind of make up for. Because in this version, there was another scene that did get cut or at least they changed it in the process of where when he goes to the house, the family was still supposed to be living there, and his own family doesn't recognize him. And that was supposed to be in the film. And I think that also led to the scene where he goes to his own grave that also got cut out, that Peter was pissed about. But I agree, it shouldn't be there. It makes shit too real, right? And I think for this movie, for what you need, I think it's fine the way it is. They have moved on with their lives. Like, why would OCP tell them? You know, he signed it away. As far as they're concerned, he is property now. He is no longer Alex Murphy. They buried Alex Murphy in a grave.
And I did, by the way, keep that in the remake. I don't like the remake. I don't, but I like
the shit that the remake explored. I liked what the stuff that it explored that was different, right? Because at least I feel like, okay, it's a little bit different. They're not trying to do the same thing. And again, is it better? Not even close, right?
Nope.
But what it does is introduce some ideas that they didn't explore so much in this version that didn't work for this version. And that's where I'm saying, like, the wife being a part of this would have just drug it down more. All you need it for here is just to have Murphy with the reawakening, right? To remind him of what he used to be. It's all about him now. His family has technically moved on. They reapproach that in the sequel, and I think they do about as much as you could have in the sequel. And why would you need that in this movie? I think it would have just dragged this movie down. I think it's fine in the sequel.
It's a good point
about them in the TV series. I'm trying to remember.
I can't remember there, but like in the sequel, they have this bit where she keeps coming because he keeps showing up at the house where they live now, and she complains to OCP, and she comes to talk to him and realizes because they forced him, remember, to say that he's just a machine and Murphy's no longer there, so she moves on, but he knows better, kind of thing. So it's like a little poignant moment in the sequel, but. Like, to me, I'm like, that's all you really needed. You didn't need to drag the kid into it. You don't need all this sappy stuff. Let the family mourn his loss. He's gone. We, as the audience, still know he's Murphy. That's all that matters.
And what's left
This,
of Murphy,
by the way,
do
Tom,
that
is
to
what
the
you and I
family.
were talking about. I'm sorry, Teague. Hold on just 1 second. I'm sorry. This is the paint job you and I were talking about, and you can really see it here, of the mixing of different colors to give it a more realistic metallic look, because you can see the bit of a purplish hue and a blue hue, a gray hue. There's almost an aquamarine hue to it too.
They mixed a bunch of like metallic colors that had the.
It really is freaking beautiful. Go ahead, Teague. I'm sorry.
I just feel like what was left of Murphy comes from a very good person who wouldn't go and you know what I mean? He would rather deal with the pain as what he is now than have them see it too. I didn't think they needed to bring him down that far. In this movie, it might have messed up the tone. In the in the remake, whatever. But yeah, I didn't need to see anymore. I felt bad enough for Murphy. And I don't know, maybe the police father figures in, but you know, I felt the fear, you know, in the days before cell phones. So this was poignant to me.
Yeah, no, I think they do it. They handle it just fine here.
I disagree with this Boba Fett because they have no legal rights to him because he isn't dead.
Yeah, there's a lot more that they kind of get into the whole involvement of who he is and taking his humanity away to where this is his humanity reawakening, right? Yeah. Like in the remake, that's another thing I like.
He's reanimated using organic tissue. He's just organic tissue. You know, using processors for his brain, and just the skill is there. But the fact is, the human starts coming back, resurrection.
This is a scene that I actually really like. It
it's
illustrates
great.
that as well.
That's what I said. I think it handles it better this way. Yeah.
It's because, and as a director and as someone who loves working with actors, and I've kind of gotten excited about this particular point, hearing about you talk about how the actors and Paul Verhoeven work together, and there's all the stuff with the mime trainer and that sort of thing. But finding these little moments,
we didn't even get to that.
Yeah, but just finding these little moments that are the subliminal subtext that tell more story without doing what I see so many amateur filmmakers make the mistake of, which is just essentially having actors say this stuff out loud. You get little things like the kid his son pointing to the TV going, "Can you do that, Dad?" And then you see that like RoboCop, part of his humanity coming through is just that he does that little gun twirl when he doesn't need to, and he doesn't know why, and the audience doesn't like consciously go like, oh, like that's his humanity reawakening, but you feel it on that subliminal
Well, that's
level.
just it. And you use the word that's important here is conscious. His conscience is still there. His conscious self is still in there, and it is an unconscious response. The whole twirling thing, it's natural, it's reactive, and it's going back to the very basal part of who Murphy is.
That's I want to agree with that. And I just want to say, remember why he learned to twirl the gun when he told Lewis?
It's all about his kids.
Yeah.
He wanted to because so what's left of Murphy is very he's a guardian. He's a machine, but the human part of him is a guardian, and he's got as much humanity as any real cop when it comes to doing the right thing.
You can also look at it from another perspective of like the more recent debate we're having about AI, for instance, right? Like really what we are calling AI is just simulated intelligence. It's not really artificial intelligence. Yeah. If we really had real artificial intelligence, you could look at a situation like Robocop as a really good look at what could happen to something like that, especially if you gave it a sentient body to run around in and interact with the living world. Eventually it's going to try and find an identity, right? So you can almost kind of look at it like at first Robocop, because if you see him at first, he's just doing the routines. He's doing his normal thing. And then all of a sudden, like you said, it starts to peek through. He does the twirling thing. Some of the things he says, dead or alive, you're coming with me. Little things that start peeking through that are Murphy until Murphy has a reawakening of his own self. And that's maybe the AI trying to grasp onto some identity within itself, and it finds Murphy and they kind of coexist in that, right? Because it is an awakening throughout the film. Because it is, and they do it subtly throughout the movie. They talk about it in the documentary, but I already knew this prior to this, and that's what I was saying about breaking it down, because you have like the different modes and moods that RoboCop makes, his motor noises, right? But beyond that, there's his vocal, right? How much of him is robot in his voice and how much isn't robot in his voice. And you'll notice in the scenes when he's being full on RoboCop, it's completely robot. But when he's being more humanity or there's something more human happening to him, even Peter would soften his voice, but they would also soften the amount of robotic noise they would have to where by the end, when he's mask off, it's almost completely Peter's voice. There's very little manipulation at that point because he is more human at that moment than any other time in the movie since he was a human, basically. Right. So like, there's just those little subtle things they throw in throughout the movie you're not paying attention to, but subtly kind of give you that you kind of come along and realize, oh yeah, he's still in there. And it's no matter how you want to interpret it, whether it's the soul reawakening, whether it's, his brain, trying to grasp onto memories, whether it's the AI interacting with his old self, trying to grasp to an identity. Like I just said, whatever you want to plug into that, that's the great part of this movie is there's so much you can debate and just kind of apply to what RoboCop, because some of these things were
never thought about. There's a little bit of Chris walking there, Tom. Apply
to the movie because RoboCop is about Jesus.
Well, just to add to what you're saying, I do want to point out, Tom, that it was peeking through until he visits the house. The minute he visits the house, that is when Murphy breaks up through. And that's why he changes his walking. It's no longer mechanical, it's more angry. He's emotionally walking by the end of that tour of the house.
It's just, I get so excited about this, and Tom, Gerry, Martin, and Dust Wolfen will all tell you, I work with AI. I am very excited about AI. I know a lot about how it works. And I just love how it's like, this is an old movie that wasn't even thinking in AI, in terms of the way that we are talking about it these days. But all these philosophical questions are there in the movie, and they're coming out more pronounced now. And even back to, one of my favorite Ray Bradbury, I love everything he does, but I Sing the Body Electric. If you read that short story collection, there's a lot of stories that are really AI stories, both on the side of the dangerous side and the beneficial side. So now I just want to go rewatch this because I feel like I'm going to look at it in a whole new light and just say to myself, wow. Sorry, had to get the walking back.
Wow. No, and that's what I said. Like, you can apply things, like I said, that we haven't even thought, they hadn't even thought about then. this film, and that's what's kind of crazy about it. Is it?
Well,
That's what helps him live on. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when you've caught on to something that is gonna be timeless and ring true, and Paul Verhoeven seems to be very, very good at that. Sometimes accidentally, but I mean, if you repeat this over and over again, maybe it's not such an accident. It just seeing the kind of person he is, I wonder. But yeah, I mean, these things just continue to resonate, and I think that's how you're onto something. But this. Again, I'm just getting really exciting and hearing the points that you're making about it, going like, yeah, this is, even as a kid, I took everything very literally, but everything about it resonated with me. And, it's now I'm getting close to 50 and still excited about this movie. And it's because of these things that you keep finding in it. It's the definition of literature.
Well, yeah, there's always going to be.
Well, it has a lot of those elements, like a Philip K. Dick or Ray Bradbury, or insert your, classic sci-fi writer here. It has all those elements mixed with a comic book element and the craziness of Verhoeven, who, like you said, he may or may not have. I think he does know what he's doing, and I think that's part of the language barrier. Is he may not be able to express it to you with his words, but he sure can express it to you on film. And he got this, right? He got the satire, even when others weren't getting it. He got it. And with that, I think he carried I think he still says this is his best movie. And it clearly is. And I think it's very underrated. It is a 10-star movie, whatever you want to call it. It is when I say it's up there with Citizen Kane, I'm not kidding.
It is nearly perfect. It
is a perfect film. The analogies work so well. Like I said, you can apply so much to it. Every scene has so much going on in it. Even this scene here, just the comment of the whole, he's in this crazy electric disco kind of place, arcade thing, whatever the hell you want to call it, dance club at the time, the kind of places that you would see at that point. And Robocop feels out of place yet fits right in because of the whole, aesthetic. It's just weird. And nobody really reacts to him. Did you notice that?
Yeah, nobody does. Keep going. They keep going. I wanted to point this out that he actually did grab his hair, but he's not pulling him by his hair, because the minute he grabbed his hair and was going to start pulling him, Ray Weiss reached up and grabbed his wrist. So what's happening is, by him grabbing a wrist, that is what he's dragging him with, is his grip, not by his hair. But he did this. It was a great little gag within the film. And I wanted to point that little.
We got the Paul Verhoeven cameo in this scene too.
Yeah, he's one of the dancers there in the club. But here's the bitches scene, and I want to point out that in the documentary did they have both girls or just the one?
No, I think they had both of them talking. I think
they're still good looking in their 50s, by the way.
Question? Can I ask a question?
Yeah, man.
Does anyone but me think that Dick Jones is the one who had these chicks sort of meet and pick up Morton? Set him up so he'd know where he'd be?
Nah.
No? Morton's just having a good time because he's got a big injection of cash.
Yeah. Why would you risk there being witnesses?
Right,
yeah, I'm surprised Clarence let them go, actually.
That's why I think Clarence sent them.
It is weird.
I think Clarence and Dick
I think
Jones
Clarence just
them.
let him go. Because Clarence, and this is the thing we haven't talked too much about, was Clarence is a weird bad guy. Because you look at Kurtwood Smith, and normally, and this is why he was kind of confused when he first got the role of Clarence instead of Ronnie Cox's character Dick, because he normally played like the crooked detective or the bad CEO. He never played like these kind of roles at that time.
It's like you casted like a thug from The Office or something.
And the reason and I can't remember the actual person he's based on, but Ed Neumeyer was talking about it in the documentary, and I got it now, because I was like, at the time, I've never realized, why would you cast somebody like this? But it makes sense when you see the movie. But I guess there was an actual person who was like this nerdy guy who just had this whole, he was the kingpin of this whole group. And it just happened because he was just this smart, cold, sadistic guy, and that's who Clarence is. And Kurtwood fucking sells it like Robert Englund sells Freddy Krueger, man. I mean, he just comes in and he eats up every single scene he's in. He doesn't even have to say anything in this scene. And just look how cold he is with the whole like grenade thing, shooting him in the leg so he knows he can't get to the grenade in time. And just the way he does it.
I
it's
will
just
tell you, you
did the
cannot
prop malfunction?
pull a pin on a grenade with your teeth.
Yeah. Did the prop malfunction?
I don't know.
I got to
But
say,
I just
again,
know that you can't pull the pin with your teeth in real life. It doesn't work that way.
but I mean, talk about great character. Again, these character nuances. I mean, yeah, okay, that's impossible. But in terms of just symbolic storytelling, that coupled with when he gets booked and they tell him to sign here and he spits blood on the thing, you know, it's just, again, just.
And that was all him. Yeah, Kurtwood came up with that.
You know, just great
Give
great
him a
actors.
fucking phone call. And he was adding the F word in all the time too, and the studio said something about it.
Yeah, they freaked out about that. Also, this scene with the dipping his fingers in the wine.
This is also improvised, yeah.
And the Tigers are playing tonight. That was improvised.
And I never miss a game.
These are great. Again, like as a director, when I find actors that know to do stuff like this, it's just gold because casting is so difficult because when I work with actors, you know, sometimes you get an actor, you're just trying to get them to do something, anything. And, you know, no matter how many times you give them directions, they just kind of do the same thing in every take. And you feel like you're just talking to a wall. So when you get an actor who's just finding these little things, you know, like, how about I don't sign it? How about I spit blood on it? You know, it's like, and Paul Verhoeven.
Yeah, that was him when he spits after he gets arrested. He spits on the fucking thing instead of signing it.
He
did that
on the spot without telling them. It was also the first scene that they shot.
Oh, I thought they did talk about.
He did ask Verhoeven, but he didn't tell the other the actors so that he would get their natural reaction. Yeah,
the same thing here with the wine. And when he did the finger dipping with the wine, what the guy does to show how tough he is was to drink from it after he dipped his fingers in it. It was both of them showing how tough they are. And that was his
measuring contest, basically. Yep.
Yeah. I love it. You know, and you get, I don't know, it's just, you get someone like Michael Bay, who this stuff just like goes right over their head. They're just, you know, shoot it with the wide lens and give it parallax, blow shit up. That's my
Michael Bay's problem is he's obsessed with motion over everything else. Like his favorite movie is West Side Story. And he's obsessed with the technical aspects of how it's done.
All he does is shoot with wide lenses and parallax it and blow stuff up. Like, and he loves lampposts. Lampposts are everywhere.
He's like the character from Anchorman. I love lampposts.
Are you just saying things that you see in the room?
This scene is one of my favorite moments.
Well, here's where we could probably talk about the choreography, because this is one of the more famous stories where, you know, Peter had worked with a choreographer for, what was it, 6 weeks?
It was like that. Professional mime.
Yeah, a professional mime, basically, to work on the choreography for Robo. And then the day that they first got him in the outfit, the first thing you could hear out of the trailer was Peter yelling, "The fucking suit don't work!" And he fucking panicked because all the shit that they had worked on, he couldn't do. He's like, "I can't move. I can't do anything that we worked on." So they just put a halt on everything for like 3 days. And they spent 3 days reworking the costume. Peter would go through and they're like, well, we got to cut this off so I can move here and do all that so we could actually move. And then when they got done with that, they reworked with the mime artist for 2 more days to just get the idea of how to move now in this suit. Because the suit they were wearing before was kind of a mock-up of what they thought it was going to be, and it wasn't even remotely close. So he had all this. Yeah,
it was worse than that.
Yeah, so he had to rework everything, and this scene is one of the examples of that, because what he's doing here, his choreography that he worked on here, is to make Robo work with the shooting, was he did fencing moves. So like they worked that in, and that's why I figured it's a good place to kind of talk about the choreography or the movement in the suit, because yeah, it had to completely change, and that was something that Peter was very upset about. and it almost got him fired.
Rob Bottin does not work in a hurry either. If something needs to be changed, it goes back to Rob Bottin. It's like he'll work on it until it's just right. And, you know, so it was like a whole, I don't want to say prima donna, but all these perfectionists.
You basically had two prima donnas going, unstoppable force meeting an immovable object, basically, at that point.
There's a bit more to it. What happened with it was it didn't work. They started like it wasn't working. So all the producers start panicking. So literally the movie is actually about to get pulled because the Robocop suit doesn't work. So they literally, not only were they working on refining out, like adjusting the suit and working on what the movements were going to be, they were shooting test footage to show the producers what it would look like so that they could actually go, okay, we're actually going to have this movie made, because if the Robocop suit doesn't work, the movie's fucked.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
Well, and then there was a point where they were going to recast Peter over it. Because him and Paul just were like, he's like, just make it work. And Peter refused. And so Paul went to the studio because he didn't know what the fuck to do at that point. And they were like, well, if we have to, we'll just recast him. So they almost recast him. But
I think they didn't they even bring in another actor and kind of parade that actor in front of him so he'd get his shit together?
Maybe.
Well, he threatened him with the other actor.
Because I think I don't remember who it was they would have said, but I think part of the reason that Ironside couldn't do it is he was already busy shooting something else.
I thought he was just too big. They needed someone real slender.
Wait a minute.
That was another part of it too, but I think they may have probably threatened him with a name that was bigger, probably, I would imagine.
I think there was a stunt man. That they actually put into the shoot and shot.
Well, he had a stunt man, but yeah.
Yeah. I think there was someone that maybe it was that stunt man, but I think they did a scene with someone else and made sure that Weller saw it. And that guy was literally about to get the job, and then the Weller kind of like shaped up. He's like, "Oh, they're actually serious."
Now,
about hiring me.
I think FKH is kind of joking here because that's who took over in part 3, but they did, because I know there was some scuffles on part 2. They almost brought Robert John in on the second film, and that's why he came in on the third film, if I remember right. Because Peter is a very contentious actor to work with. And you can tell just by listening to him in interviews. And if you've ever seen him in person, I've heard too, he's kind of a cantankerous soul at times. But he's like a teacher, right? He doesn't really act anymore. And he's very...
By the way, Nancy Allen was another one that we should talk about, the way she looks.
Oh, yeah, we haven't even brought her up yet at all.
Yeah, she's so important, integral to this film, because they initially, some of them wanted there to be, I think the studio wanted there to be a romance, and it doesn't work that way. She may love him, and she does.
I'm so glad they didn't, because that would have been so cliche.
It wouldn't have
and
worked.
That's one of the things the studio would have pushed had this been anywhere else other than
absolutely.
Ryan.
We get it in Solo
this way. Go ahead.
We get the romance between a machine and a human in Solo. So we was great ideas rise to the top, right? Yeah, great ideas. They have a way of just enduring, right, and just really making those great movies work.
Oh, sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm very surprised though that after the filming, because they cut out the last media break, as I pointed out before, and the last media break is to show the audience that Lewis lived. But luckily the test audience didn't think she died anyway, so they didn't need it. And the end of the film was better with the Murphy line. That was the peak. So
yeah, because there was
never
different ways that it was planned to be said, but I think the way they delivered it in that scene is they fix everything is really a great way.
There's a whole nother media break that I think it's on YouTube. You can go find it. That was supposed to be the original ending of the film, and it's her in a hospital bed being interviewed.
Yes,
but the studio was worried if they didn't have that the audience was going to think in the sequel they were going to turn her into a RoboCop because of the line, the line where he goes, "They'll fix you. They fix everything."
Yeah,
they thought that they were like, "Oh shit, the audience is going to think that she's going to be a RoboCop." Now we need that last media break, but the audience was fine without it because they figured out the best place to end was where he goes, "What's your name, son?" "Murphy." Because the audience, they said in the test screening, said it before he did. So that was exactly what Verhoeven wanted. So he's like, fuck that. Yeah, exactly, Boba Fett. I was thinking that too. I'm like, why didn't they just throw it as a mid-credit thing or something like that? They did that once in a while in the in that time period.
That was very rare, though. I just want to say this.
Very rare, yeah. But it would have fit with this movie.
I got to run, guys, but I wanted to say this. I am glad that they didn't make a romance out of this as well. Just like, this in Aliens, people always speculate. It's like, well, was Vasquez and Drake, were they in a romantic situation? It's like, no, they were the two gunner soldiers. So, of course, they were going to have that camaraderie. Not everything has to be.
Oh, there's no question they were fucking.
Oh, it does nowadays.
Nowadays it does.
They weren't. The actor that played Drake, he specifically in an interview that is in here in YouTube, he said they weren't. There was my tongue. They were like brother and sister.
Yeah, that's what I always got. That was that camaraderie.
The actor
Gary's
thinks
wrong.
that, but I'm just telling you, by watching that, you can tell that they're fuck buddies too. I don't care what the actor said.
Nah, wishful thinking.
I really don't care what the actor said. It doesn't matter. It's what is perceived through the way they conduct themselves. There is a mutual admiration there, but I'm telling you, out in the field, it's very common for men and women not to fall in love with each other, but to be each other's fuck buddies. You can do that all you want to. I was in the military.
I know. I
partook in it too.
You partook in military?
But at this moment, Chris has to leave now.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'll just
said they had to leave? Was it you or he?
It was me. I gotta go.
Oh,
I got shit to do. I'm working on an AI animated series that also involves subject of AI in the story, and it's a lot of damn work. But I want you all. I know you know this, but wish me luck. The Quantum Terror has been nominated for Best Indie Horror Movie.
You're gonna come back and report that you won.
I am going to win, even if I am up against Terrifier 2
I
and
believe
whatever
you
the
will
hell
win.
Yep.
I believe
Richard
you will.
Elfman is doing. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm taking a plane.
Can the public vote?
The public
Can we
cannot vote. It is all up to the
Okay.
film threat, like Chris Gore and staff and that sort of thing. But
Of all of the other nominations, Chris, yours is the most artistic.
I don't know if that's a
most
good
creative.
thing or not. Oh, artistic.
I
I
think
thought you
it
said
is.
autistic.
I think it is.
We believe in you,
Because
Chris.
of film threat.
Yeah.
Either
'Cause I
way.
know Chris Gore, and I've been reading film threat for decades since they first.
It's
started.
awesome. I will say this about Film Threat and award this. I think to me, it's the only thing that respects the fans still, and the fans respect it. So to me, this is like being nominated for an Oscar.
It's not just that they respect fans; they respect cinema.
They do, yeah, and I'm really excited about this. So wish me all luck. I do believe I can win. And,
I'm not going to wish you luck. I'm just going to say, let me know
job.
how you do, because you are going to win. I believe you're going to win.
You heard it here.
I've seen it again.
I've
We
seen
believe
both.
in you, Chris. We do.
Thanks,
I've seen
guys.
both your movie and Terrifier 2, and your movie is better than
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Oh,
Hands
thank you
down.
so much.
That's just a gore fest. Yours actually is a thinking movie.
I'm sorry I didn't get to be on the stream, by the way, in October, so I could say to you, Nosferatu Bubengraben. All right. Goodbye, gentlemen. Have a good weekend, and thanks for having me on.
Later, buddy.
Did you
Bye.
just say
So
something
back
about
it up.
grabbing your nuts?
Grab
What?
nuts.
Speaking
So-
of nuts and related to them, I
I
always
wanted to
loved
get
that
back to this scene. Go ahead.
his name's Dick Jones. His name's basically Dick twice. I always loved
Kind
that.
of. Well, if it's Dick Johnson, it'd be even more on the button. But
This
no, I love
is the
Directive
big
4.
scene where Robo tries to arrest him. And I love this.
My
scene.
little contribution. Directive
He's
4.
so smug too the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yeah, go ahead, put the cuffs on me. Because he knows what's going to happen.
Well, I guess you'll just have to arrest me.
And it's at moments like this that Robocop should have brought somebody with him. It's just this wouldn't happen.
Yeah, but it makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
that they would put directors
well, that's
in
why
there like
Lewis
that.
isn't there. Exactly, yeah. Sorry, is that what you were
That's
saying?
why he had Ed
Dustin?
209.
No, I was saying it makes perfect sense that they would put directives like that as a corporate entity.
Yep.
Because they wouldn't want their product going berserk and killing their own people.
Yeah.
And that's where you get to the end, that great line, but we'll get to that. Yeah.
Hard to believe the movie was shot with a handheld camera.
I also love how he chides Clarence earlier for his, like, he's recording everything you say, you idiot, and then he does the same fucking mistake.
Yep.
Yep. Now this has, again, Phil Tippett did the stop motion animation here, and there's some great footage of him doing the animation and stuff. That was really cool. That's in this documentary, RoboDoc. But it does show that he did a cheap version of Go animation in this. And for those of you who don't know what Go animation is, it's basically rod puppetry, where it's Japanese style rod puppetry, where they control parts of the body and they're filming at a different speed. So then when it plays back, it looks natural. Like the Rancor was one they used that with. The Dragon and Dragon Slayer was the first movie they used Go motion.
What's sad is a bunch of idiots online keep taking the old stop motion, Go motion scenes in films and are
changing the frame rate.
And changing the frame rate and up converting them so you can no longer have the motion. It's like, you dumb fucker. That was the whole point.
With the blurring.
Because
stop motion animation, there's no blurring.
Yeah.
What?
Said I want to smack the crap out of those guys.
Yeah, it's just fucking. It's sort of like taking Wizard of Oz and colorizing the opening and closing of it.
I'll say it's even worse than that. It's like going over to the Mona Lisa and painting a smile on her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy there, Jack.
I'm a big fan of stop motion.
This is another favorite scene where Ed can't get down a fucking stair.
I know, and it starts having the tantrum.
Throwing a tantrum, yeah. You know, the sound of that it's the sound of pigs dying, which is sad.
That's right, hogs.
Due to do robots, you have to throw in a scene like that because every robot faces this problem.
So Ed 209 was squealing like a pig. Squeal, little piggy.
Well, I'm going to tell you, in the military, with the one comment that was made in the military, when you have co-ed things going on, there's always fucking. It's not falling in love. It's just fucking.
It's the same thing as Hollywood and police academies. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I got to say, I got to give Ed 209 a shout out, man. I know it's based on mech stuff but he is one of my favorite bad guys. Like, I probably have, like, I didn't bring any of my RoboCop stuff on here because literally the whole show would be me showing off all my RoboCop stuff.
Well, you still should. Like, after we're done here.
And I have like 2 or 3 Ed 209s. He is like my favorite. I love Ed 209. He is one of my favorite. I have always wanted to get
the vinyl of that, but after I bought the 12-inch tall vinyl model kit that was made by Horizon, and I bought the Terminator by Horizon. I wanted to get the Ed 209 when it came out, but oh my god, they upped the price.
This almost got cut out of the movie.
Yeah, in fact, they didn't know where to fucking put it.
Well, yeah, because it's one of the, and I think it was Christopher who brought it up earlier. Somebody did here. Sorry if they did, and I get the wrong person, but about how they ended up eventually using these to basically be I don't know if they meant it that way, but it kind of became the act breaks because they didn't know where else to shove them. But yeah, and this is one not only mainly because of the dinosaur thing, but because of the whole joke about 2 former presidents dying. It was clearly Carter and Reagan.
This dude here, free society, man.
Is that Eddie Van Halen?
No, Tim. The point of what I was saying is the fact that it was intentionally done in black and white. The opening and closing scenes of Wizard of Oz.
Yeah,
it was done for an artistic reason to show the difference of the real world to the dream world. And so the joke was back in the 80s that Ted Turner was going to colorize those scenes. It was getting so bad.
Yeah.
And so that's why I brought it up.
This is a great Clarence scene here too, because I think it says a lot about Clarence.
That's
Like,
his
look at the
wife,
way-
by the way.
That is his real life wife, and she still looks, and you can see why they're still married. Yes, because like you said about those other two ladies, yes, she still looks pretty good for her age. But I love this scene not just because of the whole dick bit, but I think it tells you a lot about Clarence in a sense of the way he dresses, the way he acts. He wants to be one of the guys like Dick, but the thing that'll always be in between them is that he's this thug, right? And
Yep.
that's kind of where in this scene he's kind of getting fed up with it, you know. And that's what I like. Clarence is such a he's a very layered character that, like, you know, a lot of people talk about great bad guys. He's right up there with Alan Rickman from Die Hard, if you ask me, and some of the other greats. Like, he gets overlooked a lot with this part, but Clarence is just a great character that Kurt Wood brought to life, and I don't think anybody else could have done it justice the way he does.
Ooh, Hyatt Toys has a RoboCop Ed 209. I'm going to get that one.
Yeah,
I'll
I
see-
have
I'll go
one.
grab some of
That's
my
the one
toys.
I showed you before the show.
Oh, this is nice. It's only $50.
Yes, 6 inches tall. That is my baby.
That's perfect size.
Here's
God.
where the Oreo scene would have been coming up here pretty
Yeah.
soon.
6 inches is all you need. Yeah, from this point forward, he is no longer RoboCop. That is Murphy, all through and through. And I love how she has to help him. And this is where you see the contact, because what they were saying also within this story, even though there's no romance involved here, the reason we don't need the wife anymore is she has become that thing that he needs.
Well, it's more than that, actually, Gary. She's Mary in the story,
Right.
because this becomes a big Jesus allegory that Paul
Huge.
did it on purpose. He's literally going to be walking on water here in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, the
Not
whole
even.
it looks like he's walking on the water. How they shot that. It was fucking
And the whole
brilliant.
spear and everything is all, and the whole reason when he was dying, that's why he looks like he's being crucified. It's all there. It's all
Yeah,
a
because his
big
arms
allegory.
are held outward.
Do we
like he's
have
been
a
crucified.
puppet here? Do we have a puppet here for even just 1 second? Or any kind of like mask?
No, not here.
Even just for 1 second?
The only
Okay.
puppet in this film was the headshot scene.
Oh, there's
Well,
some
Ed,
when they're
right?
when he's fighting Ed 209, there is like there's a couple of shots with Robo as a animatronic, or not animatronic, but a
Or
stop
as a puppet.
motion.
No, I'm talking about in this scene. There's no.
Oh no, there's nothing. Yeah,
him.
no. Ed 209 is the only time that it's a fake, and there's just one shot or two of fake animated Robo in that shot. Otherwise, up until you get to Dick Jones at the end, that's a puppet too. But
Oh,
otherwise, it's all.
here's the
practical
big
stuff,
scene
yeah.
where they dressed up the actual downtown area there and had all.
Oh,
these
I know what he's
clothes.
referring to. He's talking about, like, earlier. I forgot about the Ed Bottin puppet when he gets shot in the head. Yeah, no, that's the
Yeah,
only
because
time
that
they
was
do
it.
anything like
Rob
that.
Bottin did.
Yeah.
That is not him. They show him, and then they shoot to a different angle, and the camera goes around behind him as he's hit.
That whole thing is
You
that
see the
puppet,
whole
yeah.
head.
He is one of my
Have we
favorite
seen this?
actors to play villains and assholes. By the way.
Oh, the redhead dude.
He's famous
He
for the
is
X-Files and for this movie. And
for
then, of course,
emergency room, he has a fucking
was
helicopter
on
cut his
ER.
arm off. Yeah.
I say he was
And
in
then a
ER,
helicopter
wasn't he?
drops on him and
Yeah.
kills him. Yeah.
But he's famous
Or one
for
of
this
those.
movie and for the X-Files.
I thought it was
Yeah,
ER.
he was an
He was
asshole
ER.
doctor in ER.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say
he's
ER,
an asshole
yeah.
doctor, and he gets his one arm cut off by a helicopter.
Yeah.
And then I think 2 seasons later, a helicopter crashes or something happens with the helicopter over the hospital and crashes in the parking lot on top of him and kills him.
Yep.
And I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And by the way, this is the first time anybody ever
He's
used
had some of the coolest
50
deaths
caliber.
on scene.
Yeah.
Like this scene where he blows, the scene at the end where he blows up after falling into the toxic
He
waste is one of
melts.
the
He fucking melts. It's
best
so
death
gross.
scenes ever
Yeah,
in history.
It is.
And that was the scene that
I'm
tested
not-
the highest of all of the scenes in the movie. So when the MPAA wanted to get rid of it, they're like, fuck you, we're not getting rid of it.
Kurtwood Smith
It
has the best
stays
reaction
in the
when
movie.
Kurtwood Smith's reaction when his car hits the guy's like, ah, shit. Turns on the windshield wipers.
I like it. That one was actually not improvised. That was actually in the script. They do mention that. Yeah.
It was actually one of the crew members said that he should say it that way. And it is meant to sound like another character.
Chevy Chase in
Chevy Chase.
Modern Problems.
Modern Problems or Modern Times?
I think it's Modern Problems.
Modern Problems.
Yeah,
Modern
Modern
Times
Problems.
is a Charlie Chaplin movie.
Nothing but trouble.
No.
Is that what we're thinking of? Nothing but trouble.
No.
I'm trying to help. We said Chevy Chase, you know.
That's the movie where
Chevy Chase movies, right?
That's
the movie where Dan Aykroyd has a penis nose.
Yeah.
We can age back his career by seeing how bad the movie is and pin what year it is. You know, it's like, oh yeah, when he was really horrible.
That was when Hollywood figured out that Dan Aykroyd is great idea man, but you have to have somebody to rein him in.
You got to rein him in.
That was where they're like, oh, go give us a new Ghostbusters. And they didn't have anybody to rewrite Dan Aykroyd. And he had like complete control. And
Well, yeah, because his original script was as thick as the New York City phone
same
book.
thing with Blues Brothers.
Yeah. But here you go. If you want to see, this is the first time you see a Barrett 50 in a movie. And look at the size of that fucking magazine. That's real.
It's dressed up a lot, though.
Yeah, they put
They changed the scope. This is the one that I think was the least dressed up. Yeah, I was gonna say this is the one that was the least dressed up of all the guns, though, from my memory from the documentary.
Yeah.
They've added that shroud.
One gun
to
had
it.
the real scope on it. Only one gun had the real scope. The others were fake. But this one, I just wanted to show you how big that magazine is. That is in scale to his body. That is a huge fucking gun, and that magazine is huge.
It's a very angry gun.
It is. And Clarence said, we all get him. But the thing that's funny is, you know, because he got out of jail, the black dude, he got his new car.
6000
and then Clarence
SUX.
blows it up.
He's so excited about
An
it.
American tradition.
Yeah. And this is where him and Ray, this is where Ray Weiss and him got hurt too after the big explosion there. Yeah.
Yeah, it explodes and they got burned a little bit, bumped, but they also got debris glass blown into their skin. By the way, hi, Resolute Germ. I just saw you came in. Welcome to the show. Hope you guys are enjoying this.
Germ's a friend. He's a great guy. Hello, Germ.
That is the Barrett, Tim. 50 cal.
Yep. It's an 82, if I remember.
And
right.
in the documentary, Ray Weiss says an automatic machine gun. It is not. It is a single shot sniper rifle.
You know, he was talking about the round.
What he meant to say was it was based on the 50 cal, which was always a machine gun round. It was a big anti-tank, anti-armor weapon. Technically, according
I
to
thought he was
NATO,
referring to Robo's gun, but maybe you could be right. I don't
No,
remember
he was
now.
talking about Ray was talking about the cannon that they fire.
Oh, Ray
And
brought it up.
He says it's a 50 cal and it's a machine gun. And I paused it and I told Anima, that's wrong.
He's an actor.
It's not
so
a
it
machine
don't
gun.
matter.
It's a single shot sniper rifle.
He don't
only has a
know.
handful of rounds.
I got a 50 cal round around here somewhere, but I don't remember where I put it.
They're
Back away
ridiculous, dude.
somewhere.
Girls could work out with those things. They're so heavy.
Well, and
Well,
the
this
whole
one's
point of
this
them,
one's steam-milled, obviously.
well, the whole point of them, of course, is that they have firepower that can take out Robo. That's the whole point. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I'm glad somebody said something about Total Recall in the private chat. I saw that because there are similarities between this and Total Recall in certain parts of the film.
I really felt it was
With the way
when
that-
he was looking in the mirror in the construction site was just like almost the same.
Yeah. Also, the way the villain chases him. And again, Michael Ironside playing the character this time. And Michael Ironside was almost Robocop.
Here's the Oreo scene.
Yeah. Robo wants on. Yo. And that's in the documentary. And the one guy's telling the story. And Peter Weller's like, "It'd never happen. I love you, man, but you're full of shit." And it's like, I believe it. I believe he did it. I have no doubt.
I believe that. Yeah, he was DVing out probably on so much cocaine. Who knows?
God Almighty! Yeah,
there's probably
It was
so
the
much
80s.
cocaine consumed in the making of this film.
We need to bring that back.
Makes you miss the
Yes.
80s, right? I miss the 1980s.
Get meth. Get away from it. Just make cocaine cheaper.
Yep.
Exactly.
I miss the 80s. The movies were better. The music was better.
Yeah.
Because it was all
Yeah,
pure
they were-
cocaine, man.
Even
And
this
you know,
movie.
We need to get cocaine back to Hollywood. We really do.
Yeah.
Let's
Oh,
just
here it
get
is.
into
I'm
some
not
of these
kidding.
Here it
writers'
is.
rooms.
The melting skin.
Yeah, this is great.
Oh my fucking.
One of the best deaths in cinema
Toxic
history.
Dude, the
Revenger,
noises
basically.
he was making.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the splat.
Those noises.
He's just
And
the
he
best at
explode.
dying in horrible ways like that. That grunts
Yeah,
and
he's doing the
screams.
chain strokes, rattle, breathing, everything.
Don't touch me, man.
I bet he watched a lot of zombie movies to prepare
He
for that.
belongs in New Jersey.
Yeah,
Great
that was a
life size
changed
there.
line. The original script, it said, get the fuck away from me, but he changed it to don't touch me, man. Yeah.
Oh my god, I love this fucking movie so much.
I've only seen
shit.
it once so far.
Oh,
but I really
yeah.
enjoyed
Well,
it.
that documentary is so extensive. I have this, and I haven't really had to really break into too much. This has a lot of like excerpts from the script and storyboards and other designs and stuff in it. But like as far as stories go, that new documentary knocks. I mean, it's almost like you have to. I hate saying this, but it's better if you watch like all the documentaries that came out before it, like Blood and Steel and all that stuff from the old Blu-rays
Yeah.
and DVDs, because it really is more of a counterpart to that than it is an actual. Well, it does kind of give you the overview of the story, but there's a lot of other things that are more technical that you don't get here. This is more stories than technical stuff, and the Oreo one is a great example of that.
This, by the way, is a real pit, and it's not a set. That was really gross water. And people don't realize that movies put you again. They put them in danger with this water because you never know what microbial stuff is in there. And it damn near killed David Niven when he made the movie Guns of Navarone. When he got into that water and he got a microbial infection that put him in the hospital for 10 days.
I'd also be worried
And-
about stepping on something that would pierce through your.
Yeah,
fucking
God only
shoes,
knows
man.
what's under that water, dude. But they, it's this movie was shot like guerrilla style.
Guerrilla, yeah.
Because I like guerrilla filmmaking. I've done quite a few.
Because
guerrilla
this
films.
was actually supposed to, the final scene was supposed to poignantly take place in a car graveyard since it's Detroit.
Right.
But they couldn't get.
with the stacks of cars. I remember that.
Yeah,
'Cause
but
it
they
didn't-
couldn't
you could see
logistically
some of the
get it.
storyboards.
And they couldn't find a place to shoot it, but they found this old steelworks plant. So they ended up shooting this here. But yeah, it kind of works.
Oh, we'll never get that, dude. No way. We got the comic book. That's the best you're going to get.
The time for that is long past. When that was actually put together, the two entities,
In the
technically,
90s.
I think we're under the same umbrella, but yeah, no, Cameron went elsewhere, and then the Terminator franchise has jumped so many different places. It's not even funny.
Terminator is basically a horror franchise at this time. You give it money, they'll do whatever you want with it.
Oh, here he goes. He drops the girders.
Yeah.
Top of him. This is a great scene.
This dummy here. Yeah.
Oh my God. It's so brutal though, because it doesn't look like a dummy when it hits him.
You pause it
I
now
was
and
like,
you can
oh my
see it,
God, who
but
did
like,
that?
yeah. And then of course the spike, which is supposed to be like the spear, that pierces.
Yeah, the spear of destiny. And
Longinus.
then the foreshadowing that you got earlier in the film of him having that thing was so important. Being able to go into a computer like R2D2.
Well, that's what I said. He uses something that was a tool of his, him being a machine now as a primitive weapon,
now
right? Like there's a
weapon.
poignant.
Can you see the guy in the background?
Yeah, I just noticed that he said it.
There's a moment like that in
Probably
Full Metal
Verhoeven.
Jacket. There's a moment
No.
like that in Full Metal Jacket
No,
as
it's
they're
not
transitioning from one side of the canal to the other side where the sniper is, and the camera dolly is moving along with them as they're walking. And you don't notice it when you're watching the film until you hit this moment. There's a sound guy sitting there hiding, but he's in plain sight. You can actually
You see it more and
him as
more
a
often
soldier
half the
walk
time,
by.
especially now that we're getting more HD and 4K scans. I've
Dude,
noticed it
same
more
thing with-
often.
I can't
yeah.
Same
believe
thing with
that
Blade
happened
Runner.
to Kubrick of all people.
Dude, you have to watch Excalibur. When Arthur is talking to Guinevere before the final fight, you can see the whole crew reflecting in
Oh, yeah.
Arthur's armor.
Oh yeah,
But I understand what he's saying about Kubrick. You think Kubrick would have caught that, considering how many takes he usually gets to get everything perfect. Yeah.
I know.
He
I'm just
deliberately
like-
showed the whole crew. Kubrick did it in Full Metal Jacket. He paraded the
Wow.
whole camera team in front of another camera, making it look like some.
Ridley Scott did it too in Blade
ad
Runner,
for the military. I
because
don't know.
the scene where the camera is on a track dollying to follow Deckard as he's running forward, you can see as he runs past the windows the entire film crew going by.
What was
It's-
Anima saying? Because she was in the middle of something there.
Anima?
Yeah, when they filmed the individual soldiers talking about their mission and what they're doing there, and blah blah blah, Kubrick had the whole camera team walk across another camera, so you could see them all. That was deliberately done.
Yeah, I
And
don't
it made
think
it sort
it's
of
accidental
comedy-like a little bit.
he is so
He ran
severely
a tight
OCD
business.
in his productions that it's like when you go back to The Shining. They said, "Well, you know, the chair in one shot, and then they show it again. The chair is gone." I'm like, "No, that wasn't accidental. That was on purpose. It was all to mess with your head."
That's one movie I'm never going to watch. Keep
Yeah,
trying.
we'll see about
I
that.
won't. Nope.
And this is the one time when
I love this.
see the full scale,
yeah.
the full scale model move. They were
Yeah,
able
they're
to
like, what can
turn.
we get for movement out of it? They're like, well, we can make it turn.
And they did it. That is it. You have 20 seconds to. Oh, I love this.
Yeah.
It
love
walks
that.
into frame and the head's completely gone. A little more comedy here with the way it goes down and its foot does that twitch. And a little death throw with the twitching foot.
The other fun part is the mirror of the scene in the beginning, because what happens? The guy pulls out the gun, same gun, and then gets shot to death.
True. Yep. Kind of a flip around. Yeah.
The damaged armor in this is just so well done.
It's when
Oh, I
you do
love
stuff
this
like battle.
scene.
Sorry, Jerry. So I'm very.
No, I was just saying, I just love the scene. That's all I said.
I
the battle
love the
damage is-
twist that they take.
Go ahead, Teague. What were you gonna say?
The battle damage is when you can really see the talent of the people who make the props and the RoboCop's cop suit. It's just, I mean, we've just been talking for a while about how hard it was to keep it from falling apart, but now it needs to look like it's falling apart just the right way. I'm sure it was a challenge, and it still looks great.
It
You have 20
actually
seconds
does.
to comply.
You have 20 seconds to comply. Oh, that-
10.
By the way,
Nine.
D-Bud Martin has a breach. You want to give him a video?
Now that is a breach.
Let me.
The other one was
Oh,
lazy.
that's right. I'm
Okay.
producing the show. Yeah.
Go!
Fuck
Use
off.
the back door. I'll stall the crowd. Go.
I love this whole bit here. Dick, you're fired. Thank you.
Yeah, that's why I paused it, because this is it. The penultimate moment of the film is built to this moment. Everything has been foreshadowed to what needed to happen here. Thank you.
And there's his personality in there, because this is human logic. I need to get them to fire him
Oh
so
my
I
God.
can kill him, because otherwise he couldn't.
This also leads to one of the most embarrassing things that does not stand up to this day.
Yeah.
Is this fucking
Well, they finally give us an explanation as to why it looks the way it looks, and it makes fucking sense finally.
it's the way they shot it.
Yes, the puppet was built so that the way it would work is it was falling towards the camera, so the arms were meant to be long, so it looks like they're reaching out. So with the perspective of the shot, they even show it with the different focal lenses. It kind of makes you show, and then it's supposed to flip around. Well, yeah, it didn't work the way they're supposed to do it, and it's still in the movie the way it is, and it's embarrassing, but it is what it is. It's almost like a meme now. So
This guy cracks me up here, right? When he gives
he's the only one who survives all 3 movies.
Yeah,
Nothing
And
gets to
he's
him.
a-
He's got this down.
and he is as much of a piece of shit like
What's your name,
everybody
son?
else.
What's your name,
Oh.
son? Murphy. And that's the end, man. It's a great ending to a movie. By the way, what's his name? O'Hanrahan, isn't it? Or Hallahan, the actor who plays the
Hurley.
boss. Oh, Hurley, that's it. He was in The Alien, in that co-pilot navigator for Last Starfighter.
He's also in Halloween 3. Excuse me, Halloween 3, of course.
Twin Peaks season 2.
Yes, he was. He was the one that runs the company.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right. Just
My
what a
favorite
great
Halloween
film.
movie.
I'm so glad we did this today. Thanks for suggesting it to do it today. A great idea. I'm glad you did.
Oh yeah, and there's so much more we could get into. I mean, that's the thing. This movie's just so layered. I mean, even the sequels are decent. And I mean, I would love to see I mean, they are going to be doing it. Amazon's working on it right now. I don't know what exactly we're going to get out of that.
what?
But some kind of redo or remake or rebootquel or something of RoboCop. I would have loved to have
I'm
gotten
terrified when you hear
Blomkamp's
Amazon
RoboCop.
involved.
I know. Well, they bought MGM. Blomkamp was working on it for a while, then that didn't work out. Sadly, he had even Peter Weller on
glad
board.
to be honest with you, because he's a bit of a
I don't know.
socialist, and he annoys me.
Yeah,
So
but
he
you know
throws
what?
Socialist ideology into his
I
stuff.
like his movies so far, and what I've seen from especially Chappie, I'm like, yeah, this is the guy I think who could get RoboCop. But otherwise, I mean, all you got to do is just have it to where like you set it in the future, like we are now, just up to date. But like OCP has been bought out like 12 times by a dozen other companies. You know what I mean? Like they're conglomerate of a conglomerate of a conglomerate now. You can even have that actor that I said survived.
It's
at
like
the end
Warner
of,
Brothers.
Yeah, you could have him still be the head of the company, but like they find RoboCop and cryo freeze in the basement and they thaw him out, and he's exactly what we need in this day and age, kind of thing. I mean, it really is if you think about it. I mean, he's the kind of guy who could come in and kick the shit out of some of these punks out in the street, you know, that are doing all this shit nowadays.
OCP will get bought.
It's sort of like, I got to tell you, the Kinney Corporation. What?
I said OCP will get bought by Disney, and they'll have him frozen right next to Walt.
They probably will have a joke like that. Would be funny if they did a joke like that. That'd be great.
If anybody remembers back in the 60s, the Kinney Company bought Warner Brothers. And they got this wild idea, let's change the logo. And there are movies by Warner Brothers that have, in the 60s, the fucked up looking Warner Brothers logo. It looks
the
so
worm.
fucking dumb. It's just
it's called the worm. Yeah. But you could even almost play
Yes,
into
it
the
is.
whole like defunding the police thing, right? Like that's why else maybe that's why
Absolutely.
they saw RoboCop out is again the police go around strike, and it's the same thing
I
we
got an
saw
even better
30
one.
years before. Yeah.
I got an even better one. They decide that they need to make the RoboCop more diverse. So they literally put diverse people into the firing line so they can get killed, so they can get turned
Jesus.
into RoboCops.
If we hadn't already had a diverse RoboCop, I'd say go for it. But if you've seen the TV movies they did a few years back, we actually had a black actor play a secondary RoboCop.
RoboCop Prime Directive.
Prime Directives, yeah. So technically, there was 2 live action TV series. That was a backdoor pilot that never got turned into a show. They just turned the show into a couple of movies.
Tom breached.
I did.
Martin.
Backdoor.
You know what you need to do.
Oh yeah.
How dare you, Tom?
Well, it is what it's called. I couldn't help it.
Okay, here we go.
Why don't we take a ride to the Corbata Club? Maybe he stashed the items there.
Mr. Marlowe, people would talk. When I go into the back entrance. Please leave that remark alone.
So here you go. Somebody
Did they finally get it or not?
Yeah, it's back in July, I think, is when it was completed.
Cool. I know
They
they
said
weren't
it's
originally going to let him have it.
in the
but
market. I think it's called the Market is where it's supposed to be.
they need something
At
in
Eastern Market.
They need something in Detroit to get people to go there.
The movie will open with them tearing down the RoboCop statue because something Alex Murphy said when he was still alive.
Well, it's funny when they do stuff like that because, like they did with Stallone with Rocky, and they put up that statue, and then they moved the statue. It's no longer there at the top of the stairs. And then I heard somewhere that it ended up being replaced by another statue.
You'd probably want a breakaway
indoors.
You'd want a breakaway statue in a town like Philly. I've been there a few times. It's pretty rough.
If anything, this movie was too nice to how Detroit would end up being, because it's like way worse than this now, and cops are even more heavily armored than they're in this movie. Like this was over the top, and now it's like, whoa, this is so quaint.
The back when this movie came out, there were people calling in from police departments thinking that was real body armor and wanting to buy it or get something like it. Where did you get that?
Well, the Kevlar body armor, it was technically something that was kind of new because all the cops, I think they mention it, I can't remember if it's the first one or second one, but they do talk a little bit about it. But like a lot of that stuff, that all the stuff in the movie, because the whole, like I said, the movie's set 5 years in the future. They don't say it in the movie, but that's where it's set. It's set in 1991. And so they went to try and get all the latest state of the art, everything you could think of when it came to police stuff, when it comes to the weapons, when it comes to the cars. I mean, at that time, it's fucked up to believe that the Ford Taurus was one of the more futuristic looking cars of that time period. And little did they know how right they were, because it wasn't but a couple years after that, most cop shops were using Ford Tauruses for cop cars.
Yeah, because Crown Vics was the car of choice for most law
which are similar too, but yeah.
But there was that period. The worst period for cars with law enforcement, including the FBI, was the K car.
But just those little things like that. I mean, if anything, because I know that the vest they're wearing is like a Kevlar metal or whatever. It's more, it's different from the old bulletproof stuff they had before that. I can't remember what they used before, but this was that.
They had metal plates before in the armor.
Yeah.
They were separated by material, sand, or something in between them.
But they had like a lot of access though to a lot of the newer stuff. Oh, that's a different one than the Worm. That's the 7 Arts logo. Yeah.
Yeah, the 7 Arts. This is back when Kenny owned it.
They didn't use that for very long at all. Yeah, that one's
no. I was glad when it went away.
It's like something out of The Boys.
I thought you were talking about the Worm. I was like, oh, the Worm ain't that bad.
I hated that one. It's ugly. I like the one that was the old logo, and it's the one they're still using. The classic.
I didn't mind I didn't mind the Worm for Warner Music because it looks like a W and an M at the same time. It makes sense, right?
Warner Media, right?
Or whatever. Yeah, but like I was glad when they changed back to the Shield, which was 84.
Yeah, between 1972 and 1980, they had the one that was like 3 slash.
Actually, was up through 84 because I believe it was Joe Dante who was the first one.
Was it 84? I just remember that it somewhere in the 80s or close to the 90s that they stopped using that when it went back to the classic Warner Brothers.
Because I believe Superman 3 still had the because Joe Dante used the original old Warner logo and theme for Gremlins, and that was the first time they had it in years. And I think every movie since then continued to use the Warner Shield. Because he makes that point, I believe, in the commentary for Gremlins.
But Kenny, the Kenny logo, also ugly, was hold on a second.
You're cutting in and out real bad.
I've got it.
Yeah.
That's because I'm downloading. I'm sorry. I'm downloading this image. I apologize. All right, here we go. It was PNG good. And now I'm going to close it, and so it'll stop interrupting me. I'm going to add it here. This shows the history of Warner Brothers, and it shows both logos that I was talking about. The one that I hated the most was the red one. Oh, wow, it's see-through. Sorry, guys. It's the red shield down there on the bottom.
Yeah.
On the bottom left. That's the really argument. That's the
I hate
Yeah,
the
I remember
Seven
that
Arts one worse. I hate the Seven Arts one more. At least the
I think
the
they're both
red
equally
one,
ugly.
red one's kind of ugly, but at least
Yeah.
it feels like that's early late 60s, early 70s aesthetic.
Right.
Yeah,
But
Tim sent me an image of the Rocky statue where it is now.
Yeah.
So it's got its own little area. It's not at the top of the stairs
And
anymore.
it's protected now where people couldn't touch it. And that was it, because the foot, you can actually see where they were touching it. It's worn down the foot.
Yeah, and the legs.
No, I'm really
It
worried
was-
about RoboCop right now over at Amazon. I seen asked if they should re-release it. Yeah, it'd be nice, but they're not gonna. Wild man, they're gonna do their own new thing.
The new RoboCop series will be the RoboCops of Power.
It'll be a team of
It'll be
RoboCops,
woke
a
as shit.
diverse one.
They'll gender flip Robo.
It'll be Robo.
Robo.
Cop. I'm sorry, I was just reading what Chris Dominguez said, and then Wildman. Didn't law enforcement also use the Mercury Marauder as a cop car?
Some did. I
And
know around where I'm from, they
guys-
use the Ford.
Yeah, that's what you were talking about. Okay, Tom. A bigger release. Have they done a 4K on that one?
Yeah. Arrow put on a really nice one last year.
Didn't they have a Fathom events for it a while ago?
I think so. Yeah. 9 times out of 10, if a movie has a 4K master, it's been re-released in theaters in some sort of Fathom event or re-release of some sort.
Oh, that's it right there. Instead of Robo Counselor, it'll be Robo Social Worker, because with the whole wanting to defund the police, social workers into the house.
Isn't that basically
And
what
I'm going to
happened?
tell you something.
We should not.
Social workers don't go into a home without
somebody's
a cop with them.
gender. We don't
Yeah,
know
right.
if they feel if they are male or female. Let us ask.
That's going to be part of
Robo
those
Soros.
million directories that they give him in the second one.
Yeah.
They just update the list. It's like, he's a criminal. It's like, did you just presume the suspect's gender?
It may be a they them or a ze them.
No,
Yeah,
we must
the
respect
minute
gender
there are certain
pronouns.
trigger words for me. Presume is a word that really triggers me nowadays. When I hear somebody say the word presume, I just want to punch them in the face. Fuck
They
off.
them drives me insane.
Yeah, I don't even. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
I
even.
am
Somebody used that, I
uploading this
go.
arrest
Those are
to
old.
TikTok.
Anything
Somebody-
else we want to talk about? I do know that before I started this today, Martin had shared something with me last night. When he gets sleep deprived, he starts coming up with ideas. And his idea last night was to show that other movie that came out in the 80s, Robo Man, also known as, what was it called?
The Vindicator.
Vindicator. To say that we're going to show that movie. Because look,
No, don't show that movie ever.
No, the
Please don't.
trailer. I was going to show the trailer. Here we see the trailer of RoboCop. Wait, what are we watching? I was going to do that today, and it didn't happen. But I got to tell you, it led to a conversation on Twitter last night about the movie Back in Me. Do any of you remember that movie? I'm not asking you, Anima. I know you've never seen it or heard of it.
I was just going to say, you're getting something
That's
wrong
one
here
with the,
because
that's the one with the creepy puppet.
Yeah.
I know it
Yes.
exists.
It's the only film produced by McDonald's.
Martine does not
Oh!
get sleep deprived.
Yeah, well, they
if you
just
look up
gave
sleep
us-
deprivation, there's Martine's picture on the article.
They even have Ronald McDonald
What?
in the movie.
Go ahead,
If
T.
Loki counts as a movie, then they've just produced their second, because about 2 episodes take place in a McDonald's. Completely.
okay.
Where they talk about how they need like a Big Mac to really fix this time travel problem. By the way, don't watch that show. Don't
Yeah, I'm
bother
never going to
catching up with
bother.
it.
I won't bother.
It was
I'm not-
horrible.
The first season was bad enough. I couldn't even finish it. I'm like, yeah, I'm done.
First 5 minutes was bad. Oof.
Their concept of how string theory works is fucked up. So
Well, they erased their own story, if anyone cares. So it's like it never happened. Was their
you know, it never
resolution.
happened. That's good because it didn't happen
Yeah.
for me.
No, I haven't
So
watched
going
it,
back to
don't
Mac and
spoil
Me, there was a conversation today on Twitter. It was so much fun because somebody brought up that movie Mac and Me, And it led to this thread, this long thread between everybody. And then I popped in and I said, has anybody ever watched any time that Judd, what's his name, the actor, Ant-Man actor?
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd.
Whenever he would go on Conan O'Brien, he would bring a clip from whatever movie or TV show that he was promoting. But he didn't. Every single time he did, he pranked the audience in Conan by bringing the clip from Mac in the wheelchair going off the cliff into the lake. And then the puppet just like rising in front of the camera. If you've never seen that clip, it's fucking funny. And Paul Rudd's been playing that joke on Conan for like 20 years. Every single time he's been on there. And I can't do it anymore because thank God Conan O'Brien ended because it was garbage. Towards the end, he lost.
Better than the shit we got now.
Craig Ferguson's coming back. Craig Ferguson is due back this fall. There may be delays. I suspect there's going to be delays because of the strikes. But he was already in the studio working on the show before the strikes took place. So we should have a new show with him back on late night where he belongs. And he'll be king. You watch.
I always liked him on Drew Carey.
Drew Carey produced a lot of stuff for Craig. And he co-produced with David Letterman, the Craig Ferguson show. Well, the late show, Craig Ferguson.
Which was the superior late night show.
It was. He was the best late night show host since Johnny Carson. He was even better than Letterman.
I've never.
He brought something back. So. Letterman's just sort of a jackass. He had a good show though. There were really good moments, but he was a jackass in real life, and he didn't even sound like he was being nice to his guests a lot of the time. It sounded like he was fucking with them in a bad way, not a fun way.
Well, I liked Leno too.
He was okay. I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
I always like Norm on late night because he just mess with everybody.
Norm Macdonald?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was one of Conan O'Brien's best guests. Him, the kid again, Paul Rudd, Bill Burr were always his best guests because they would just sort of take over the show, take on a whole lot. The show would take on a whole new life because like Norm would just stop the show and he would start reading from his book or telling a joke that would take like 5 minutes. It should have been a real quick joke, but he would stretch it out. And that was his favorite thing to do is take one of those old timey jokes and stretch it into this really long narrative story. And then finally get to the punchline where Conan looked exasperated. Like, how long is this going to go?
I also love
Ferguson just simply was, there was something impish about him, you know, kind of devil may care. He's like, this is going to be fun or I'm not going to do this. And so he was just having genuine fun doing the show. The whole creating of the robot, because he wanted to have a whole robot army. And the dude from Mythbusters built him an actual robot for the show.
Oh, I also love when Norm was on the YouTube Awards and basically just called Sarah Silverman a communist. That sounds like some communist gobbledygook.
He, you know, because they were friends, but he was not nice to her. He would say some really like the what is it, the New Year's Eve celebration. He was there and he shit on her live on camera. Just shit all over her.
On Star Trek.
She was on Star Trek.
Voyager. 2-part episode. Yeah, she plays.
I didn't watch that
a
show.
Really annoying idiot. So she's well cast, but it's not the best of Voyager.
Oh, I couldn't watch Voyager. I had problems with it, but later I found out it wasn't the actor's fault. Like Ensign Kim, and their acting was very stilted, stiff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was boring.
The guy that played Chakotay wanted to quit, and they just kept giving him more money. Like, you just kept asking more and trying to get out of it. And they're just like, fine, whatever.
I felt bad for Chipotle.
come to find out, what happened was one of the showrunners, the executives on the show, were making the actors play down their characters, act more dry and boring, so the aliens and other characters would seem more alive and human. They were told to do that, threatened if they wouldn't do it. That's one of the documentaries about Voyager, and I was like, holy shit, why would you? That's fucked up.
Still a better show on the whole than Deep Space Nine. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, by far.
Hey.
Yeah.
Now,
if I want that much magic, I'll
first
watch
season was okay.
Ahsoka.
First season was okay, and then the rest was crap until the last 2 seasons, and then I liked it again.
Right, mixed in here and there are really good episodes, but they go low more than they go high, and a lot of the worst new Trek ideas come from Deep Space Nine. I think Section 31 pops up there. We all loathe that now, I'm sure.
I'm going to respectfully disagree with you.
Oh, and if Culture Casino hears this, he seems to be under a misperception. I do not endorse New Trek. I just am the only person who will bother to review it. So I want to clear that up. Please do not associate me as endorsing New Trek at all. I won't even call it Star Trek.
Oh my God, this is a great story. If anybody knows this story, I love this Norm Macdonald, Sarah Silverman story. She apparently got shit. She had really bad explosive diarrhea. They're on the road together, and Norm Macdonald, a couple other comedians in the back, and Sarah Silverman. And she apparently got into the car smelling like shit. Norm doesn't drive. He's a passenger. He never drove in his whole life. And I think she was driving, and the smell. And so Norm Macdonald says, "Do you smell shit?" And she shit herself. So he took a shit on her. What Amber Heard. Yeah, of course you mean, I'm speaking figuratively when I say that. Shitting on somebody. So anyway, Tom, any last thoughts about RoboCop before we go?
Can't wait till we do RoboCop 2.
We have to do that. I think it's a good idea. I don't know about RoboCop 3. I'm not a big fan of RoboCop 3. They really G'd it down. It was not. They just PG'd the shit out of that movie.
I like the jetpack.
Jill Hennessy looks good.
Who?
Jill Hennessy looks good.
Oh, yeah, there's that too.
That is.
Oh, it's unexpected casting, but she looks great.
What was she in the film?
She might have worked for OCP. I think she might have. Was she the sympathetic scientist who thought it was a little too mean?
Oh, she's in the first movie, and she comes back. Yeah.
Is she in this first one?
It's the pretty one that kisses him.
Yeah, she looks just like the woman on Crossing Jordan.
That wasn't her? Okay.
No, that wasn't her.
Think Law and Order. Jill Hennessy, Miss Kincaid.
If you guys haven't checked it out, our RoboCop remake, in particular, they take the dick shooting scene and they just make it to where a bunch of guys run out, and it's literally nothing but.
I have fucked with people with that before. I've said, "Have you seen?" I said, "Have you seen this deleted scene from RoboCop?" And I'll send it to people, and it looks so real at first that people really do think it's a deleted scene. It takes them a little bit to go, "This can't be real."
Oh, Fatal Farm, man. Those guys are good.
They did a good job of that. It's hilarious.
Before we go, I do want to share this. For me, when it came to Law and Order, the prettiest actor that was ever on that show, she was also in Dune. She was the little girl, Paul's little sister.
Oh, yeah.
Is Alicia Witt. And she played one of the cops on Criminal Intent. And here she is. There we go.
Interesting.
Gorgeous ginger.
She grew up nicely, didn't she?
Yep. And that voice she had in that movie was, I don't know if that was her or what. That was a creepy voice she used in the movie Dune.
Did they
That
bring
wasn't
her
a-
That was a
over from
dub.
another?
Was it dubbed? I'm glad because that what a creepy sounding girl. Last read here is from Tim. Admiral Teague, I like the idea of Section 31 if they were just a CIA type of section in Starfleet intelligence who did deep infiltration, killing here and there.
You know, here's the
But
problem.
we're supposed to be
They're not-
above that.
They should be called Amendment 31. They're in the bones of the idea of the Constitution. Is we need a backstabbing organization like a 31st item overall is that we have a backstabbing terrorist organization within our ranks, you know, and that we keep secret from everyone.
Right. I just don't buy it because the Federation, the way it was supposed to be advanced, they would be getting away from organizations that would do assassinations and murders. Before we go, Tom, can you show me the ED-209 you got?
I think he's.
I'd have to go run up and get one of them, but yeah, if you got a minute.
Oh, I
guess.
thought you had them there in the studio. Okay, never
No,
mind.
I don't. I'd have to go get them.
Can I
Well,
give
as soon
you
as I
one
get a
thought
good
about this
payday.
movie?
I believe ED-208 is also known as Viagra.
Yeah. He's the Ed 209,
And that's when
though, right?
John died and we lost him. We will miss you so badly, John.
John got shot in the dick by Robocop.
Do
We're
I have a
sorry.
second to give one quick thought on this one?
Yeah, one
it's
last
that this robotic cop somewhat humanizes all cops because at his core he's a guardian, and you know the real cops, they're still heroic. They managed to make a RoboCop movie without sort of dehumanizing the real cops, and I think that was the secret that made this movie work. Like when they're all sort of cheering him on. I think it's in the next movie, but you know, like he's one of the team. Once he starts doing cop-like things, he's accepted because you know he's a good guardian.
Yeah. Before we go, I did want to show this. This photo was on Facebook today, and immediately my eyes keyed in onto the background of this photo. This is from 1986 at the premiere of Aliens. Look who that is on the back right.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
wow.
Robert Patrick.
That's Robert Patrick, man. Long before he played the Terminator.
Although I may not be paying attention to that, who's in the background.
I don't know who that
yeah.
was. But that is, by the way, that is the Carriage House restaurant right over by the, I forget the name of the theater where the Oscars were done there in Beverly Hills. And let's see, I'll move that one. And before we go, this is me before I married Lori when I was 18 with my Empire Strikes Back hat. And you can really see the heterochromia in my eyes. I have a light colored eye and a very dark eye. Her eyes are gorgeous. Too bad she had a shitty personality.
Yep.
But anyway, one smart lady, she won on Jeopardy. She was on the teacher edition when the schools would send teachers. She was one of the teachers on there and whipped everybody's butts. Super intelligent. Nice. But that's it, guys. Last comments from the chat here. Lifeless eyes, like a doll's eyes. There you go, Soul Assassin.
Robocop fucking
Lifeless
rocks.
eyes.
It will always rock from now till the end of time. Amen.
Yeah.
I'll buy that for $1.
$1.
It's a movie that gets better every time I see it.
Every time.